Hey, Brad. You look like a bummer. No way. Thank Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome. We're going to ask everyone to please take their seats. We're about to get started. We are now recording, so all of you are now part of, we're going to ask everyone, Leslie, everyone to be quiet, please. We're going to get started. I'm delighted to welcome everybody to the July full board meeting for Manhattan Community Board 4. I am Jessica Chait, Chair of the Community Board, and pleased to call this meeting to order. MCB4 has a hybrid policy that can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability and/or an extraordinary circumstance. Excused members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually, and board members who are joining via Zoom must leave their cameras on. This meeting is being live streamed on our YouTube channel, and a transcript is being recorded. The meeting will live on our YouTube channel and is accessible by the members of the public. As a reminder to all, our public session sign up is made available. I know we have many people who are joining us today, some who have just passed us along the Highline, which we want to thank the Highline for welcoming us and are checking out what's going on here. Many who have come specifically with the desire to speak and have their voices heard. We ask that our sign up is available until 6:50 tonight. That's 9 minutes from now. So if you are here in person and you would like to speak and have not yet signed up, you need to find the sign up sheet outside and put your name. So everybody who would like to speak, please make sure your name is on the paper by 6:50. If you are joining us via Zoom, and you'd like to speak, we ask that you raise your virtual hand so that we can know that you are interested in speaking and that we prioritize your participation. I want to reiterate that we always want to be welcoming and available to hear from the community and to be able to be fair and consistent. For that reason, that is why we ask everyone to sign up in advance so we make sure we have time for everyone. In light of how many people have already signed up for this evening, and again, we're really grateful you're here, we are going to need to limit the public session to 1 minute. So you can use this time to look at your remarks and make sure that you use your 1 minute well. But you can always submit your comments and written testimony to us via email. In addition, we're going to ask, I just want to make a flag that we're asking our electeds and their reps to also limit their comments this evening to 90 seconds, 2 minutes, in light of the fact that we have so much on our agenda. Before we go to the full agenda, I want to again thank the Highline for hosting us this evening, and I'm pleased to introduce Preeti, Senior Director of Community and Government Relations, who will offer some brief remarks. Did we lose her? Oh, there. And just so when people know, for public session, we have 2 mics here, and similar for members of the board, when you're speaking, we'll ask that you come to one of the 2 mics up here. Preeti.
Hi, everyone. I'm Preeti Sodhi, Senior Director of Community and Government Relations at the Highline. Hosting the community board on the park has become a yearly tradition, and we're so excited that you've joined us again this year. So thank you so much. I wanted to give everyone here a quick update on the proposed rezoning of the Western Rail Yards and also the Protect the Highline campaign, which launched a few weeks ago. Next slide, please. Just to orient everyone, the Western Rail Yards is located at the northern end of the Highline and is bound to the north and south by 30th and 34th Streets and to the east and west by the West Side Highway and 11th Avenue. For context, the Western Rail Yard is about 1/5 the length of the Highline, so about 20%. Next slide, please. So as many of you know, the community and the developer signed off on a development plan for Hudson Yards in 2009 that permitted extensive development of the Western Rail Yards while preserving access and including much needed housing. The Western Rail Yard was contemplated as a counterpoint to the Eastern Rail Yard, Where the eastern rail yard is largely commercial and retail, the western rail yards was proposed over 3,500 residential units, a school, and some commercial space at the northern end of the development. On the right on the slide, you can see the eastern rail yards, which has been developed into what is currently Hudson Yards. And on the left, you can see the development if it's stuck to the 2009 rezoning of the western rail yard. Just wanting to emphasize, like most of you know, the plan was the result of an extensively negotiated process that incorporated community input, including from this community board, and the consideration of impacts on the Highline. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Keep going, please. Keep going. Thank you. Developers have now proposed a development that includes a giant podium bigger than 6 Costco warehouses stacked on top of each other with a resort and casino complex that will overwhelm the Highline and reduce the amount of housing. They have proposed a significant change to both the use and scale and type of buildings. In addition, the use has flipped from mainly residential to mainly commercial and includes an open space layout that is significantly altered. The development plan would gravely threaten the visitor experience on the northernmost stretch of the Highline and have profound effects on our entire community. Part of the magic of the Highline is the unique way visitors interact with the cityscape, seeing into the city from an elevated height. Much of that would be lost with the massive new buildings in the proposed new development plan. Next slide. Keep going. So as many of you know, community advocacy has always been central to the Highline story, especially when it comes to the rail yards. Developers claimed that the area could not be developed with the Highline in the way, and the Western Rail Yard area was threatened to be demolished. In 2008, Friends of the Highline mobilized a major successful campaign to save the Highline at the rail yards, as well as the spur. These are some campaign materials that many of you might recognize from that time. Next slide. So where are we now? Where are we today? We've recently launched the Protect the Highline campaign. Just like we did in 2008, the Highline is working with neighbors, allies, and stakeholders in the community who have concerns about this kind of development plan to make sure public officials hear our concerns and get the rail yards plan back on track. That means not reducing light, air, and views without corresponding benefit for the people who live here. That means taking the concerns of the community about impacts to the area's safety, accessibility, housing, and affordability into account. That means making sure that access to public spaces and amenities on the west side is not limited. In some, it means protecting the principle that the west side and all that we love about it should be for everyone. So as I mentioned, we recently launched a campaign. You can find more info at protect.thehighline.org. I'm wearing a shirt that talks about our campaign. Some of my colleagues in the back are also wearing these shirts. They're going to pass around more info. What we really need to do right now is get members of our community to sign on to the campaign. The more members of the community that we have on the campaign, the larger message it sends to our public officials that we're taking this seriously. We also have social media that we've launched for the campaign. We have X and Twitter, Protect Highline. We have Instagram, Protect HL. We have Facebook. So what we're really asking for folks is to sign on to the campaign. And there we also have a short survey. We want to hear from people in the community. What's important to you? We want to get your input. So again, my colleagues are here. Thank you so much for joining us on the park today. And thank you for hopefully supporting our campaign.
Tonight's meeting is expected to be lengthy as we kick off with 1 presentation and 3 hearings, and our business agenda is reflective of a number of very significant projects which we have been referencing over the last many months. These projects come laden with both incredible opportunity and consequence for the community. And for that reason, I want to again remind everyone, board members and community participants, of our guidelines around engagement. Our bylaws state that board members are expected to treat each other and committee members, members of the community, representatives of city, state, and federal agencies, and elected officials, and all others with respect and courtesy while acting in their capacities as board members. We are also expected to conduct all board affairs with fairness and decorum. Similarly, we request and expect the same of all who attend our meetings as well. We cannot tolerate disruptions or disorderly or disruptive or offensive conduct or comment. We make space for each person to speak during our public session, and disrupting others is unacceptable and directly at odds with our desire and commitment to hear from everyone. We ask that everyone conduct themselves appropriately, or they may be asked to leave. Additionally, all perspectives are welcome here. As a board, we strive for unity, not uniformity, and we should do so in welcoming everyone and everyone's opinion. I ask that everyone be open-minded, keep the side chat to a minimum when others are speaking, and be thoughtful about how we set ourselves as a model for welcoming all perspectives. We'll now move to our first presentation. And with that, we're joined by our friends from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Joining us, some of you have seen these familiar faces before. You can come either mic, sure. We're happy to have you up here. Hirsch Parek, Glenn Guzzi, and Adam Taubman for a brief presentation on the Midtown Bus Terminal Replacement Project. I just want to note that following this presentation, we will be hearing a public hearing on this topic, allowing people to make comment on the land use application for the Midtown Bus Terminal. And then later during the business portion of our meeting, we will be taking a vote on the proposed ULURP application. Board members, I'm going to ask that you please hold your, with that, Hirsch, turn it to you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you to the community board for having us here. We are very excited to be here this evening to speak about the ULURP application for the Midtown Bus Terminal Replacement Project. As was mentioned, my name is Hirsch Parek. I'm here joined with my colleagues, Glenn Guzzi from the Port Authority, and we also have our Land Use Council at Kramer Levin, Adam Taubman, and Sheila Pozan. Let's go to the next slide, please. So we're going to go through a quick agenda, run through a number of slides in fairly quick succession. Before I do that, I just wanted to point out a few things. We have been incredibly grateful for the partnership, the collaboration, the feedback, and the support that we have received from this community board over the past many years as we have embarked on this project to replace our Midtown bus terminal on 42nd Street and 8th Avenue. It has been many years in the making, and each and every time we have met with this board and the working group that has dedicated their time and their energy and their efforts beyond the time they spend here at these meetings to help us develop and improve this project has been a great pleasure, and we are so fortunate to have this very strong partnership. So with that, let me turn it over to my colleague, Glenn Guzzi, to kick us off. Glenn?
Thank you, Hirsch. And as Hirsch said, we're happy to be here tonight to talk about the bus terminal replacement program. In the interest of time, we'll go through our presentation reasonably quick, but also noting that we want to give everyone a good opportunity to see what it is that we are actually proposing to do. So if we go to the next slide, we'll take you through a very quick overview of the project. We'll go to the next slide, please. So what the Port Authority is doing is a proposal to replace the Port Authority bus terminal in totality. What that means is we will ultimately be deconstructing the bus terminal as it is today. So what this slide shows everyone is the current conditions, the bus terminal as you know it, that exists facing 8th Avenue between 42nd and 40th Street, going from east to west over to 9th Avenue. And then what you see in red are the existing ramps. What you also see in highlighted in blue are a number of surface level parking lots that are currently used for bus storage and staging that we certainly know has an impact in terms of the number of buses on local city streets. We'll go to the next slide and talk about what it is that this project is. Go back one slide, please. We'll wait for that. There we go. Okay, so what this project is proposing is an extensive revisioning of how buses will come in and out of Manhattan. And we'll take you through a sequence of how the project is expected to be delivered. So the components of the project, starting from right going to the left, what you see in yellow will be a brand new bus terminal in the existing footprint of the bus terminal today. It will be a larger bus terminal. It will also include, at the direct request of community interaction, an entire floor that will house curbside intercity buses that currently operate on local city streets. Moving to the left, what you see in that purplish blue, it says staging and storage temporary terminal. That is a proposed new building that does not exist today. One of the things we've heard through many years of interaction with local elected officials, the city of New York, the community board, was that we needed to think about the movement of buses on local city streets to remove those buses from those streets as best as possible. As I mentioned in the previous slide, there was a number of highlighted blue areas that serve as the purpose of bus storage and staging at the street level. Today, when buses come in from the Lincoln Tunnel and they're circulating to and around the local neighborhood, finding a place to either store and wait for a pickup, or they'll go directly into the terminal, but they won't leave New York. They have to stay in New York for service later in the day. That causes circulation around the streets. What this building will do is provide approximately 350 spots, roughly thereabout, parking spots for the purposes of staging buses within the system. So they will no longer have to leave the bus terminal and circulate on local city streets. They'll stay within the facility when they arrive through the tunnel. This also is an add-on to what we originally thought of as the project, as a direct result and response to concerns and requests from the city, the community board, and local elected officials. Moving to the left, you see highlighted in red ramps. There's not a whole lot that one can say that's exciting about ramps, but they're necessary in terms of moving buses around. But the way in which these ramps are configured versus what exists today is a system so that once the buses again come into the city, they don't have to leave the system and circulate on local city streets. The ramps today, which are older, are narrow. These ramps are being engineered and designed so that they will accommodate a bypass lane. Today, if there's a disabled vehicle on the ramp for whatever purpose, it causes a backup either in the Lincoln Tunnel or on local city streets if a bus is looking to depart the system. This will enable us to be able to avoid that situation, to keep the buses within and reduce congestion on local city streets. Other elements of the project are what you see highlighted in green. It says deckovers, new open space. So we know that there is a shortage of green space in the local neighborhood, as has been been described to us by the local neighborhood. We'll be creating these deckovers. That's 3.5 spaces of deckover space that will be ultimately converted into publicly accessible open space. Important factor of this project is it's contained solely on Port Authority property. There will be no taking of any private property for this project. We'll go to the next slide, please. So the sequence of this project, we are currently, and you'll hear more in just a moment, on the ULURP and the NEPA process. But what the Port Authority is looking to do is begin very early action work towards the end of this year, leading to what is considered phase one, the construction of the staging and storage facility and the ramps. That will be a simultaneous construction starting in the early 2025 timeframe, ending in about late 2028, which would then lead to the phase two of the project, which would entail deconstructing the main terminal and building a brand new terminal in its place. The purple building will, in that timeframe, serve as a temporary bus terminal. We'll go to the next slide, please. So we're going to go through very quickly before and afters, current condition and future. This is what you all know of the bus terminal at 41st Street. We have worked with the city and the community board to change the environment here to permanently close the portion of 41st Street that operates between the two wings, the north and south wing. The next slide will show how that would look. A much more light atmosphere, a joined building so that the building operates better, but creates a state of place for the community. We'll move to the next slide, please. So as you see, 8th Avenue and 40th Street to be replaced with the terminal that would look similar to the following. Final architecture is not yet decided, but we're moving closely to that. We go to the next slide. Something much more appealing and uplifting, much better than what we have today. Next slide will show 40th Street. This is the lower level that connects to the subway system and between the north and south wing. This is at the lower level below 41st Street. By closing 41st Street, the following will be able to be achieved. A large central atrium that allows light to fill through this facility, that also enables the community to connect into this facility in a much better, more hospitable way to connect to transportation and enable a more efficient operation of the bus terminal. Next slide. Looking at 40th Street, not such a wonderful view, but what we are looking to do is expand the sidewalks, create an environment that's a much better condition, as you'll see in the next slide. So what this shows is that same location. Again, architecture not finalized, but the difference here is a much wider sidewalk and front street facing retail that will run the span of 40th Street. That makes that environment a much better, much more regularized type of environment that one is used to in the city. We go to the next slide, please. So we talked about the storage and staging facility. This is the portal to the Lincoln Tunnel. There's those two locations that will be the deck over project. Ultimately, what we will do is deck over those two portions of Dyer Avenue, reconnecting this portion of the community. And then, as I mentioned, it will be converted to publicly accessible open space. The next slide will give you an idea of what that will feel like in terms of the open space and the storage and staging facility. Again, architecture not finalized. Next slide, please. Okay, bridging elements. We'll do this very quickly in terms of what the environment looks like today and what will be proposed. These are the ramps that extend over 9th Avenue coming in and leaving the bus terminal that you see on the right. You see the elevations here, but with the connection of a new terminal and the connection to the storage and staging facility, the following slide will show what those elevations look like in that connection. Move to the next slide. This will be moving further west, looking down 40th Street. The existing ramps that have approximately a 15-foot clearance at the bottom of the ramp, connecting the bus terminal to the storage and staging facility in the next slide. We'll move to the next slide. So over at 10th Avenue, we have the ramp that comes across out of the tunnel, connecting into the ramp structure that we saw previously. And in order to be able to connect the new ramp structure, the helix structure from the tunnel and into the tunnel to the staging and storage facility, the following slide will show you how that connection of ramps will look. Next slide. Okay, so I will turn this part over to our land use attorneys. Adam Taubman will come up and take you through the ULURP application.
Thank you, Glenn. So this project requires 3 ULURP actions. That's why we're here tonight. I'm going to be describing very briefly the first 2 of these actions, and my colleague Sheila Ozon will cover the third. The first action is a zoning text amendment. In the city of New York, you can't really build a bus station of this size without a city planning commission special permit. There's been a regulation in the zoning resolution allowing for that special permit, but it has not been updated since 1961 when the zoning resolution was adopted. So the required findings are very out of date, and that provision doesn't really accomplish everything that we need to accomplish for a project this complex and frankly this large, spanning a number of city blocks. So the text amendment would update that existing provision. It would modernize the required findings so that it relates to planning considerations concerning the public realm, vehicular traffic, public transportation connections, and so on. And it would allow the City Planning Commission and City Council through the special permit to approve construction of portions of the facility over city streets, as you saw just moments ago, and to grant certain bulk waivers that are needed for the 2 commercial towers on 8th Avenue. With that text amendment in place, we're then seeking the second action, which is a special permit pursuant to the amended text. The special permit would allow the bus station use. Again, it would allow construction over city streets as specified in the special permit drawings, and it would grant the required waivers for those commercial towers. The text amendment basically remains in the zoning resolution. It's an amendment that applies to the city generally, even though it is targeted to this area. The special permit is really what memorializes this specific project. There will be approved plans as part of the special permit that depict the project, that establish a maximum building envelope for those commercial towers and a maximum floor area for those towers, and that establish urban design controls relating to the relationship of the facility to the surrounding area, particularly at grade. And with that, I'll hand things over to Sheila.
Thank you, Adam. So as Adam explained, the final land use action as part of this application is a change in the city map. Next slide, please. This axonometric view shows you the various areas of city streets that would need to be demapped and conveyed to the port in order to accomplish this very important project. The areas in aqua, those boxes that go over 9th Avenue, 40th Avenue, and 10th Avenue, those are the volumes that are required in order to build those connections between the ramp structure, storage and staging, and main terminal. Without the demapping, we wouldn't have a unified facility that takes all of those buses and congestion off of the city streets. The areas in yellow and green and orange represent the small portions of the city streets that would be demapped and acquired by the port in order to accommodate facade elements, below grade foundation elements, and most importantly, to accommodate those wider ramps that allow for buses to bypass each other if there's a disabled vehicle. So you'll see near the ramp structure, it bumps out a little more. That represents one of those wider ramps that accomplish the goal of better traffic flow into the terminal and getting buses off of city streets. And then in green along 41st Street, you'll see that small box there. That's the only portion of the proposed demapping that actually closes traffic on a city street. That portion completes the demapping that was done in 1979 when the North Terminal was constructed. So back in 1979, during that initial approval for the north wing of the terminal, the city demapped the portion above approximately 16 feet above grade so that there could be a connection between the north and south wings. They also demapped a portion below grade to allow for a connection into the terminal. So this piece in green on 41st Street really completes what was started in 1979 and allows for the creation of that beautiful unified terminal that was on one of the earlier slides that Glenn walked us through. And then with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hirsch.
Okay, so to start closing us out, Glenn mentioned that in addition to the ULURP that we are currently undergoing, there's also a federally led environmental impact statement that has been underway. We are in the final stages of that. Next slide, please. You will see that we are anticipating the final environmental impact statement and the record of decision, which will complete the EIS process later this summer. So that will complete the environmental review process while the ULURP process continues for a few more months after that. That will be a significant milestone coming up in the coming weeks. Next slide, please. So as part of this very long partnership that we've had with this community, we've already worked on implementing many of the feedbacks that we have received. Next slide, please. I won't go through this in great detail because Glenn already covered this, but everything from taking buses off the streets to increased street-facing retail to publicly accessible open space. All of these features that are so critical for this community to reknit the community, reimagine the surrounding environment were incorporated into this project, and it made it a better project. So we are very grateful for the feedback that we have received and that we'll continue to receive as this project moves forward. Next slide, please. We do recognize that there are items that remain open. The working group has represented this community board and this community incredibly effectively. And so there are a number of items that they have shared with us that they would like us to see some feedback and responses on. And we are working through each of those items, and we will make sure that we provide a response on each of those items in the coming weeks so that the community, the working group can report back to this body what is coming. Next slide, please. And so to close us out, a key update is that tomorrow is our next Port Authority Board of Commissioners meeting. It is going to be an important meeting because at that meeting, we'll be seeking board authorization to award the first contracts related to this project. Those contracts relate to the Dyer Avenue deck overs that Glenn referenced. However, it's critical to note that those awards are subject to the final EIS and the record of decision, which will come later this month. And we are still awaiting a more specific schedule on the construction start timeline. So we will again be sure to share that with the community board as we get those updates. Continuing the process after today, you will proceed to the next steps in the process to the borough president, city planning commission, city council. But throughout that entire process, and even after moving into construction, our collaboration, our coordination, our partnership with this community, your elected officials will continue. And we, again, are very grateful for the opportunity to present in front of you. And we do hope that this board approves this ULURP application later this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hirsch, Glenn, Adam, and Sheila. We are very tight on time, but if there's anyone from the public who would like to ask a question, both in person or online, now is the time. If you're here in person, I'll ask that you use this mic here. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you all. All right, we are now, sorry. Okay, we are now going to turn to our public hearing session, and I'm going to turn it over to Jean-Daniel Nolan for a public hearing on the land use application that was just referenced.
Sorry, okay. I open this hearing. Does anybody want to speak? Oh, okay, the hearing is open. If anybody wants. Can't hear me?
It's on, it's on. I think it's on.
Sorry, can you hear me now? I beg your pardon. The hearing is now open. If anybody would like to speak, you are welcome to come up and speak. If nobody wants to speak, the hearing can be closed. Jessica? I think.
Okay.
No one's.
Thank you very much. Thank you, JD. We're going to move to our second public hearing this evening, which is on the Department of City Planning City of Yes for Housing Opportunity text amendment. And I'm going to turn it over to Joe Restuccia to lead the hearing on that. I believe for this, we have had people sign up. If you're here to speak on the City of Yes, I'll just, while Joe's getting ready, you can make your way to the microphone over here.
Our first speaker is Anna Polinsky or Polinsky.
Hi, my name is, it's okay. Nobody gets it right. Even my parents did. My name is Alan. I've lived in this neighborhood since 1979. Long time. And I love Chelsea. I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate. I have a wonderful place in a wonderful building on a wonderful street. And I'm fine. You know, I have no complaints about housing, but I really get distressed when I hear people can't share Chelsea, the Chelsea that I know, about how difficult it is to get housing here, how difficult it is to build here. And I'm in favor of the new City of Yes housing proposal. because I think that maybe it'll be incremental, but we will be able to do something to alleviate the shortage of housing. You know, like I said, I've been here forever, and the problem is there's just not enough housing in Chelsea. I mean, it's a very, very difficult place to live if you want to live here, and of course, it's very expensive. So I think this program would be a help towards that, and I would hope you all guys will vote for it and approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Joe, just a reminder for everyone, we're going to ask that you limit your remarks to 1 minute just because we have still very many topics.
And you'll do the timing?
All time.
Okay, our next speaker is Pamela Wolf from West 21st Street.
Hi, that was quick. Hi, I'm Pamela Wolf. There is so much to be said for City of Yes development near transportation hubs, ADUs, where logical lifting, parking mandates, all are good ideas. But to apply an across-the-board formula for the entire city is a simplistic approach to our very complex town, and it ignores the years, decades of careful, thoughtful efforts by our boards to tailor zoning to our community's needs and to temper development with respect to context. We are the only board that has devised our own housing plan and amended it over time as needed. Dan Garodnick said, quote, "We take public input seriously," end quote. Good. This is a serious business. It is telling that 38 of 59 boards have said no to City of Yes, each for their own reasons. We should align ourselves with CB2, which has said no unless. We have our own reasons to say no unless. We want our input to be taken seriously. Yes, with conditions is too weak a statement, easily dismissed. We need to be firm. Thank you.
The next speaker is Salinas Miranda, followed by Marnie Halassa. Salinas Miranda.
Is it loud? Is it on? Is it on? Okay. Right now, the privilege that we have coming to a community board and speak our concerns and thoughts on any matter pertaining to our community is something that only exists in a democracy. How are we even contemplating City of Yes? Who are we servicing in this type of plan? Forcing and changing communities without the input of the constituents. Related is priding themselves on the so-called resident engagement that they're claiming in our FEC demolition proposal. But because it's being based on a false narrative, then it's so much more easier to remove rezoning laws altogether. Pro-demolition tenants are here speaking, but the survey speaks for itself. 60% of the FEC community do not want demolition. Tenants chose not to participate in a survey that did not give the option to stay in public housing. Privatization is being forced on us. This is a democracy. Let's stay a democracy. There is a homeless crisis, not a housing crisis. Not the City of Yes.
Marnie Halassa, followed online by Elka Fears.
Salinas, I agree. Say no to the City of Yes. Mayor Adams' City of Yes plans to add to New York City's housing supply by loosening zoning restrictions, which might better be called City of Cake. Adams is, after all, letting his real estate industry friends have their cake and eat it too. While some changes in the City of Yes proposal would offer developer incentives to build more units in exchange for moderate small amounts of actual affordable housing. Nothing would mandate and subsidize truly affordable levels or limit speculation and displacement. City of Yes would allow developers to bypass the ULURP public review process for zoning changes and build more densely as of right under circumstances. During the previous administration, many communities, particularly communities of color, used ULURP to oppose proposals that fed gentrification and displacement. If Mayor Adams is serious about addressing the affordability crisis, he should direct his city agencies to use planning tools to slow land speculation, tax warehouse properties and pet-a-terres, and subsidize housing outside of the profit-making system. Until the city views housing as a human right instead of a commodity, the city will only keep sweetening the deal for developers. Say no to the City of Yes. Thank you.
Our next speaker online is Elka Fears. Elka.
Hi, Elton Hughes, President of the West 47th, 48th Streets Block Association. The city of yes is so wrong. We all want more housing, and I know CB4 has worked for and produced a lot of housing for low, moderate, and middle income folks for many, many years. We don't need the Department of City Planning to tell us how to produce more housing.
We're having some tech problems.
Tell me when you're ready.
There we go.
The other mic is fine. If you want to start working over there, we know that that one's working. Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Okay, the city of yes is so wrong. I can hear myself now. We all want more housing, and I know CB4 has worked for and produced a lot of housing for low, moderate, and middle income folks for many, many years. We don't need the Department of City Planning to tell us how to produce more housing because it's already being done in this district by this board. Eliminating or changing our existing special zoning will only destroy the character and history and aesthetics of our neighborhood. When out-of-towners visit, every single one of them remarks that there is such a feel of community here, a real neighborhood. All that will be destroyed. Although we do not support the city of yes, we appreciate CB4's efforts to try and mitigate some of the damage. We urge board members to vote to approve item number 39 as written. Thank you for listening.
Our next speaker is Susan Emile. Please unmute, Susan.
Hi. I'd also like to encourage the board to vote no on the city of yes.
Could you identify yourself? Yeah.
My name is Susan Emile. I'm the president of the West 44th Street Better Block Association. I question what data the city is relying on to fully understand that the city of yes will result in additional affordable housing instead of a reduction of affordable housing and an increase in over market rate apartments. I think we've realized and we've seen over the last couple of years that the policies implemented by the administration in the city have been experimental and we can look to the adult use cannabis regulations as well as decriminalization of drugs in order to understand the negative consequences those have had on the city. So we have to really trust our administration in understanding what they're doing with these zoning regulations will have its intended impact rather than resulting in a full windfall for developers and less affordable housing for all.
Our next speaker is Lydia Andre. Is she in person or online? Not present. Are there any other speakers who would like to speak on this matter tonight?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Everybody that's online that has their hand up, on the lower your hand. If you are here to speak on the city of yes, you can re-raise your hand, all right?
Yeah. I know he can.
John Mudd?
John Mudd is.
John Mudd. Please bring him over.
Yeah, he's coming over.
John, please unmute and identify yourself and who you're representing.
Hi there. John Mudd here with the Midtown South Community Council. I've been living here since '84. Council's been around just about nearly as that long. We work on health, housing, homelessness, and food insecurity. This intends to rush to strip away opportunities for the public. There isn't any real intent behind the leveling or the leveling of the playing field. Particularly, the economy is in trouble and the developers are hungry. And the word affordable has been overused, abused, and bastardized. And it's nothing but a dangling carrot. The upzoning of Midtown, the city of Yes, the demolition of Chelsea Elliott and Fulton House and Bernardo Hoco's Penn Station area development plan, low-income housing struggle on the Lower East Side, the prison development in Chinatown. All these developments are wealth extraction plans. They have no interest in giving us affordable housing. They haven't figured this out for a long time. We've had a housing crisis for decades, and they haven't done anything about it. It's a little bit more intricate than just build, build, build. That's for developers. Okay, the health and homeless and housing and food is a
Thank you so
policy
much.
problem. Okay, these are policies, and the policies do not serve the public, and they never have. And so it's all about the donor class. And we oppose more social cuts, land giveaways, siphoning of our taxes and selling off the public assets and to allow these flows of capital upward. I mean, this is existential fight here. And and you guys need to be on the front lines, okay? And you should be working for the public, making sure that.
Thank you, John. The next speaker is Carla Russos. I'm sorry, no, John, you cannot hear me. Bring over Carla Russos. Carla, please introduce yourself.
Hi, yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is this a good time to give some updates about community relations for the Ryan Chelsea Clinton Community Health Center, or I can go after?
You know, this is City of Yes, a different public hearing. We'll put you in that one. It's in the public session.
Okay. So come back later, correct?
Yes. And another speaker
Thank you.
for City of Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hearing none, I have this hearing closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We're now going to turn to our land use application for 343 West 47th Street, and I'm going to turn this over to our district manager, Jesse Bodine.
Hi, everyone. This was a hearing on for a letter and an application that we have actually already heard and that the board had actually already voted on to support with conditions. We unfortunately just never got the hearing done. So this is a semi-perfunctory process. No one has signed up in advance. Has anybody here to speak on the 343 West 47th Street special permit application? Seeing no one, the hearing is closed.
Thank you. We're now going to turn it to our public session. I'll turn it over to our chair, Leslie Bogosian Murphy. She's going to be at this mic, and we'll ask people to come up to this mic here on my right. She'll call out names in advance. I'll turn it over to her to walk us through. But again, want to ask everyone to be respectful. This is a very hard venue. While we're so grateful for the Highline to be here, it is very hard to hear everyone. So with all the things, please be very respectful and both of our time and of each other. Leslie.
Now, can you hear me on this mic? Okay, great. Jesse, why don't we start with the online people? And since Carla was right there, we can have Carla come over and then C and then Miriam. And everyone, this is a reminder. Jessica said this before, but we're going to limit the comments to 1 minute per person. As you see, it's a full agenda and a lot of people here, so we appreciate it. Carla, can you hear me? We see your hand up.
Yes, I can hear you. I'm not sure.
Your 1 minute starts now.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I'm not able to share camera because I don't have the option here on Zoom for some reason, but I would like to share community relations updates for the Ryan Chelsea Clinton Community Health Center. As we are approaching the National Health Center Week on August 7th, we would like to invite the community members from 11 to 3 p.m. to participate. We're going to have dance demos. A lot of partnerships are coming for the event, and also some music and as well as face painting for the children. So it's going to be very engaging for the community. Please participate or share with your neighbors, as this is a community event for you in the Midtown community area. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon.
Thank you very much, Carla. Next, we have C. Lee, and then next, Miriam Fisher. If you could, Jesse, they might not be online. Are they there? Miriam's there? Okay. Oh, Miriam, there you are. Your 1 minute starts now.
This is about the Port Authority. I was trying to speak at that time after the presentation, but let me speak now. We can learn from what happened. It's about the planning for the waiting room. Looking at what happened at Penn Station, where there was a paucity of seats, and we've seen videos that have been public of people lying on the floor, sitting on the floor, especially during rush hour where there was not enough space. I want to get on the radar the possibility of the same problem at Port Authority. My own experience at Port Authority has been lying on the floor in waiting rooms where there weren't enough seats. My husband taught at Montclair and took the DeCamp bus to New Jersey, and I have bad memories of no place to sit, me lying on the floor, and some seats that were attached to the pillars that were too. I want to get this on the radar and people to consider that.
Noted, and I apologize for the truncated the time tonight. Next we have Tay Walker, Carol Ott, and Richard Wentz. Jesse, if any of those three are there. Oh, great. Okay. Shante, can you hear me? Or Carol, you know what, Carol, since I see you, can you hear me? Great. Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you. I actually signed up to perhaps not speak on this topic, but I will go ahead. I'm the block president of the 300 West 20th Street Block Association and a Chelsea resident since 1978. I want to point out that the city has recently adopted the Urban Forest Agenda, which was sponsored by our council member Botcher. That agenda points out that the overwhelming majority of trees on public property are not legally protected. The two NYCHA campuses on federally owned land hold a combined total of 370 mature tall trees, which appear to be at least 60 years old, and 201 smaller, more shrub-like trees. In the plans currently on the table for the tear down of all the current NYCHA housing, there is no mention of what will happen to these trees. One can only assume that these trees, like the current NYCHA buildings, will be lost to a developer's dream. I hope this community board can find the strength to stop this destruction. Thank you.
Thank you, Callan. Right on time. Shante, I see you. You have 1 minute. Starts now.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm at 554 West 53rd Street, and I'm just wanting to comment on some of the issues we're having in our building. While we appreciate that CHDC does great things for the community, we feel that they're not maintaining their buildings properly. We have an elevator that is constantly out of service, and there's no communication as to why that keeps happening or what they're doing to take care of the situation. We also have scaffolding that's been up around our building since before the COVID lockdown, with no one seeming to be doing any work. And so we would like to know, what's going to happen with that. I leave for work sometimes very early in the morning. There's homeless people underneath there. It's very unsafe. It's a bad look. And we just really would like there to be some transparency with communication between management and tenants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shante. Next, if Richard is there. Nope, Susan O'Neill, but she already spoke. Renee Kitt and Lydia Andre. Serena, I see Serena. Serena, can you put your camera on and can you hear us? Oh, I see you unmuted, so I think you can hear me.
I can.
Hi, Serena, you have 1 minute. It starts now. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Serena Jean-Louis. Sorry, my camera is not loading right now. I am also from Ryan Chelsea Clinton Health Center, and I just wanted to introduce myself as the new executive director in your neighborhood. I'm at 645 10th Avenue. Our health center is between 45th and 46th Street. and we provide a wide array of services for the community, from primary care to women's health, pediatrics, dental, eye care. We do school-based services. We work on opioid addiction treatment and primary care, sexual and reproductive health. So I just wanted to again welcome everyone to come into our doors. We will be having an event on November 7th from 11 to 3, where we will be inviting the community to see all of our community resources, as well as a wide array of community health organizations to service the Chelsea area and to welcome you all to our Ryan Chelsea Clinton Health Center. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Wow, everyone's holding exactly to 1 minute. Very impressive. I see Lydia, you hear me because I think you just unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Your 1 minute starts now. Thank you.
Okay, great. I was listed for City of Yes, but I'm really talking about the Chelsea land use letter about the NYCHA development. I want to say that after listening to the Port Authority presentation and hearing that they still have an active working group providing feedback and being part of the process, I really want to encourage the community board in the letter that's written to hew to Joe Restuccia's idea of reconstituting a working group that can involve all stakeholders and come up with a better plan, a fairer plan, and a more transparent plan. Month after month, week after week, we go to these meetings and we see that there are constituents who are not being represented by our elected officials. It's time to hold them accountable. We need their help with getting the kind of information that would make some plan possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lydia. Next, we have Patrick. Patrick, can you hear me? And before you go, Patrick, Jesse just asked me if anyone's online to raise your hand if you're ready to speak, so he could prepare to put you over. But Patrick, if you're ready, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can. Your 1 minute starts now.
Okay, this is my second time attending this meeting about the repairs undone in our home. You know, we have this leak in our roof that's been going on for over 2 years. We can't have, we don't feel comfortable having family and friends over because it's just a mess. I've lost time and money repeatedly going down to 111 Center Street, trying to get some help at that end, 4 times in court, Clinton Housing Development, be it all the good that they do in the community, they're really dropping the ball here. They don't show up to court. Again, we're losing time and money at the post office, taking time off work. We feel like we have a direct health risk to our daughter due to a failed attempt to complete the repairs with some glue, really toxic smelling glue. Speaking of toxic, a lot of times when I go to try to get help and answers from the Clinton Housing Development employees, I'm met with a very toxic reaction. It's not good.
Thank you so much, but before you go, can you just give us the address so we can put it down?
540 West 53rd Street, apartment 12H. And I just want to know, does anyone on the board have an idea as to what we should do next?
Thank you, Patrick. Jesse, did anyone else raise hand? Are we okay online? Oh, Jackie, if Jackie's online, you can bring her over. I'm sorry, let me look at your text. Jackie Laws, Stephen Harvey, and Julia Ramos. Those are the 3, I think, that are left online, right? Okay. Who do I see first? Julia, I see you. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great. Go ahead. Your 1 minute starts now.
Hi, I want to speak as a resident of Fulton Houses and in regards to the development plan. While I understand the fears and there's a huge fear of change and wondering if we're going to get security, but at the same time, I want to express current concerns. We live with our children encapsulated by lead and asbestos. And as residents, I know some are opposed to this, but we deserve better. We deserve to live in a place without lead. We deserve to live in a place without asbestos. A lot of essential workers live here. A lot of disabled people live here. And just like people were clapping for essential workers and when many people were dying of COVID, we deserve a safe home to come home to when we finish our 40 hours a week. We shouldn't have to sacrifice anything to do that. The city doesn't pay us enough, so we deserve to continue having this income-based housing without lead, without asbestos, affecting the development of our children. And so we need to advocate for ourselves, and we need the private residents as well to help us advocate for us to have a safe home, because our lives are interconnected.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you so much. Next, we have Jackie. Jackie, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Your 1 minute starts now.
Hi guys, yes, well, related to really trying to take over our city. But yes, I'm against the demolition on this. I read the draft letter. I don't see anything about our trees there. I don't know if I'm reading it wrong, but for me, it's like everybody's agreeing to the demolition. Somebody's really liking the demolition and going forward with related taking over Fulton and Elliott Chelsea. But you know, I don't want that. I don't want the demolition, and you know, we need our elected officials to really listen to us on this. There's something better we can do. And yes, maybe we should start another working group and agree to something, but no demolition. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. And I believe lastly, online at least, right, Jesse, is Stephen. Stephen, I see your hand is up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Great. Your 1 minute starts now.
Hey everyone, my name's Stephen Harvey. I'm a little bit late, but I'm here to talk about City of Yes and specifically the special Clinton district zoning changes. I'm an 11-year Hell's Kitchen resident and here today on behalf of the 411 West 44th Street Co-op Board, as well as the West 44th Street Better Block Association. I'm speaking to express our strong opposition to the proposed increase in height limits for buildings in Hell's Kitchen. As residents deeply invested in the character and quality of life in this neighborhood, we believe such a change would have profoundly negative consequences for our community. A few different reasons have been brought up, but want to add in a few additional infrastructure strain. The city's already struggling to keep up with sanitation, police, utilities within our area, and how do they intend to increase services for these residents? Loss of sunlight and open space. These height limits would directly affect almost all of the parks within Hell's Kitchen, Matthew Palmer's Hell's Kitchen, the Clinton Community Garden. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that concludes at least the online portion. So now we're going to go for the people who signed up to speak, who are here, and we're going to start with Hector. And you get 1 minute. And Hector, I believe you have 2 pluses also. So we'll start with those 3. Oh, yeah. Do they have to go over there? Would it be better for them to go, or does it matter? Okay. I understand.
This mic is working.
Okay.
Let's come in.
Watch the stuff. Thank you. Evening, everybody. I'm Hector Vasquez, a disabled veteran and lifelong Chelsea resident. My family and I have endured 35 years in unsafe and unfit NYCHA housing. Countless residents, including veterans and people of color, deserve better. We need safe, dignified homes, not neglected buildings. Demolishing these structures and buildings and building new ones is the only solution. The lawyers only prolong injustice. Let's unite and demand immediate action. Our families deserve a place to proudly call home. Let's stop stalling. Thank you. Yes, I forgot to mention that I'm a board member, but I'm not able to vote on this subject matter.
Hi, my name is Darren Vasquez. I've been a resident of NYCHA housing for my entire life, 21 years. We moved into Fulton housing a little 4 years ago during the pandemic. And I've only seen the quality of life for all of the residents get worse since we've started living in Fulton. The problems our communities face are created and only worsened by the conditions of our buildings. Every problem we face is almost always tied back to the condition of the housing we're living in. We have zero security to protect our residents. The quality of the housing itself is terrible. We've got mold growing in bathrooms, deteriorating plumbing. I live above the boiler room, and when the sewer backs up, it smells like human excrement every time. And the floor boils so much that the tiling has begun to warp. This is almost completely unlivable conditions, and it's all we can afford. And I think it's really the only way to fix these problems is if we completely tear down these structures and build new ones. So that way we don't have to have these patchwork solutions every time these problems come up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello? Put on? Hello? Okay, before we go to our next speaker, if you signed up on this blue sheet, if you guys just come over here and line up, and then we can do this probably a little bit quicker. And I can check you off as we go. Go ahead. Sorry.
So do okay. Hi, my name is Malia, and I moved into Fulton houses during the height of the pandemic. And while I'm lucky to have a home, it is impossible to overlook the fact that my building and apartment are one way or another in constant disrepair. My neighbors and myself have encountered mold, peeling, or leaks in their walls that lead to floods in their homes. These are not the conditions anyone like myself should have to grow up in, let alone be isolated in during the pandemic. One of my biggest concerns is security. Earlier this year, I watched from my second floor apartment as a man was shot next to the basketball court. This is a non-isolated incident, and it is not okay. Our living conditions and lack of security in these buildings directly contribute to a dangerous environment in which these things are allowed to occur. All is to say, we deserve better homes, we deserve more homes, and we deserve a redevelopment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mary. And then you know what, George, you can come next after Mary. Like 1 minute.
Hello, my name is Mayor McGee. I'm a former resident of Fulton Houses. I moved out because my daughter was attacked and I had to fight off her attacker, and now he's serving 25 years in jail. I was part of the first protest, community board, the meetings, everything. I was part of this whole process. I was against demolition. Now, when it was proposed, I came back and I listened to the residents because I was outraged hearing this. The residents asked me, fight for us, not against us. We need better. We want better. And then when I come to these meetings and I hear the community speak against it, they're not speaking about the rights of the residents, their quality of life, the security, the living conditions they're living under. Now, if you want to join a fight for quality of life. Join the fight for better nature residents. They deserve this. Don't worry about the views that you're going to see that a building's going to block your view. Isn't a person's living conditions more important? Look, 419 West 17th Street, first floor. The bathroom ceiling fell down last week. Where are the repairs? There aren't any.
Thank you, Mary. Look, thank you. Sorry about the 1 minute. Go ahead.
My name is George Figueroa, and I've been living in the Fulton house for the last 50 years. And I'm a senior citizen. I'm 78 years old. I do not want any more delays. I've been waiting long enough. I do not want any more working groups. I want the work for our new buildings to start now. New state-of-the-art buildings and all the amenities that comes with them, and most of all, security that we all need. This is why I am for new building. Thank you.
Next, we have Alexis Ortiz, and then Mary, you can go after her. Yes.
Hello, good evening. My name is Alexis Ortiz. I live in the Chelsea Elliott housing. I had a whole bunch of things to say, but after this meeting, I just want to cut it real short. For those people who do not want this demolition, I need to know how much your rent is and the condition of your apartment. My rent is $2,000 in Chelsea housing. I have water coming out of my electrical box and it's supposed to be fixed, but we'll see. But the whole purpose is that they moved this out, they moved this in, the problem was not fixed. And if this continues and you postpone this for 2 years, then housing will have a lawful, a lawsuit for wrongful death that will include 3 adults and a 9-month-old child.
My name is Mary Jones. I moved in housing, Fulton Housing 7 years ago. 7 years ago, we talked about the same project. And I noticed that everybody getting their projects done except us. Why we have to prolong this anymore? It's no use. We need our new development. We can't help you sit back and let all these things happen while everybody living in a nice, beautiful home and our children getting hurt, our elderly getting sick. Today, I got work out my apartment today. Guess what? You got a homeless person. Anybody could have been walking out that door and got just killed or beat up or anything, because these people are allowed to come in and out whenever they feel like it. But yet y'all want to build all these other things and we the suffer. I don't understand this. We need you guys to start today, not tomorrow, but today. There's too many of us are suffering in housing. And ain't nobody doing nothing about it.
Thank you, Mary. You use your 1 minute.
How you doing, everybody? Thank you for having us here. My name is Lenny Rosado. I've been a Fulton tenant since 1967. So I'm a long-time Chelsea resident. I know the area very well. I know I'm going to make it short and sweet. I'm going to get a little rough here, but I just received a notice that one of my tenants passed away today. She was 92 years old. She lived in Fulton for like 56 years. What I want to come out and say is, it's ridiculous that you want us to wait 2 more years and push it back. And Joe, I'm very surprised at you, wherever you're at, because he was part of the working group with us back in 2019. You're asking for 2 more years, which can turn to 4 years, 5 years. And to me, I'm going to be blunt. You're asking for many of our tenants to probably pass away by then. And that's shameful. That's shameful. And I'm surprised is when I saw the video, the presence about the Port Authority, nobody appealed that. Nobody spoke up on that. You guys gave in to them. They let demolition. I got neighbors that live there. The Man Plaza. Come on. And then you're jumping on us, all demolition this, environmental this. You guys are all wrong. And I'm going to tell you, there's a God. There's a God. There's a God. And he's coming for you.
Thank you, Betty. You okay? All right.
Hi, I'm Alexa Cruz. I've been living in Niger since 1969, and I am for the city of Yes. And I believe in Section 9 because NYCHA is responsible for all the repairs because there were 70 corrupted employees stealing money, billions of dollars, and they have to be responsible for us. And Essence Related is a land grab, and they're all fooling us. So wake up.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I was gonna, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Iris Rosado, and the reason I'm here is because I've been living over 20 years in nature. And I complain about the problems. We have homeless people sleeping on the staircase, sleeping by my door, and it's scary. Nobody does nothing about it. We call the cops, nothing. Then my bathroom, the water system, it's like I lived all the way up in the water system instead of me having water, hello, it comes out poorly. The hot water, sometimes I have to let it run for 2 hours for the hot water to come out and nothing. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry about it.
Okay. My name is Arlene Waters, president of Elliott Chelsea Tenants Association. We've been through this for about 6 years with the working group. Everything you heard from everybody is true. We have mold. People have died. People are still dying in our projects. What I have to say to you, no more working group. Let's move forward. And for the elected officials and the mayor, you're with us, so get this done.
Thank you, Darwin. Yeah, just announce yourself.
I'm Miguel Acevedo, TA President of Robert Fulton Houses. As you see, how many people here in support of the demolition. The weirdest part about this, I have so much respect for every single board member. The one who's hiding is Joe Risuccio. Where is he to listen to our concerns? He was told by one of the persons that were on the screen there, I'm Lydia. I support what Joe wants done. Joe, where are you? We're living in hell. So stop trying to stop this and put a pause on our living conditions. Is it because of color of our skin that you're treating us like this? I have never seen some so racist in my life. I'm tired of it. Stop the demolition tomorrow. Thank you.
So first, I'd like to start with saying happy anniversary. It's been about a year that we've been at this. So this is where we're at. Last year, the annual draft plan of NYCHA was going on when we saw the unveiling of what Essence/Related wanted for us. We asked we asked that this presentation not go on, and this is what was said. MCB4 will not be taking any action or making any recommendations on this proposal until there has been a thorough discussion and the public has their questions answered. The question I have for you, can you say that there's been a thorough discussion and the questions have been answered? I think we all agree the answer is no. Questions have not been answered. There still is a lack of clarity on everything. From what is the height of the future buildings? Where will we be living? Of course, everyone says we'll be coming back. Lovely as it is.
Thank you, Renee. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Just announce yourself. Thanks, Raphael.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Raphael Schweitzer. I am a citywide community activist. I'm not a NYCHA tenant. So I will be doing an event every month. So as we know, the city of yes is going on. There's a lot of issues that are citywide. And I think it's important for people in Manhattan to get the perspective of people in Queens get the perspective of people in Brooklyn. So I'm organizing the 5 mixer. It's going to take place the 3rd Sunday of every month at 3 p.m. That's the 3rd Sunday of every month at 3 p.m. at the Purple Tongue, 410 West 43rd Street. There's no admission. It's a place where you can get the perspective of other people regarding zoning matters. And on our next meeting, which is I believe Sunday, August 18th, we're going to have Janet Schroeder, head of the New York City E-Vehicle Safety Alliance, which is fighting for a ban on mopeds and more regulations concerning e-vehicles. So again, please join us. I don't have a flyer, but it's Sunday, August 18th. It's the 3rd Sunday of every month, 3 p.m. at the Purple Tongue, 410 West 43rd Street. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, everybody, how you doing? My name is Marco. With all due respect, I've been in Chelsea houses. I'm 3rd generation in Chelsea houses. My grandmother came there when those buildings weren't even there. Chelsea houses has fallen apart piece by piece. Everybody's watched it fall apart piece by piece. NYCHA allows it to fall apart piece by piece. With all due respect to Mike Noble, to Hector, I know you guys live there. None of you guys live there. None of you guys live there. This is how tenants are living. Every day, this is how tenants are living. Every day. Every day. Not today, not yesterday, every day for the last 20 years. You're one of how many? Everybody. Okay, we deal with junkies, we deal with everything. I've seen murders in my neighborhood happen. This is what we live with.
Why? It's not coming out.
Regardless of the building you live in, whether it's NYCHA or not, a patchwork repair is always needed. Initially, Essence offered renovations. New plumbing installed to stop the patchwork work. They had a plan and every single tenant was happy. Now demolition is a must, the only solution. As much as we come and express our opposition against demolition and to stay in public housing, it's nowhere to be seen in the draft scope of work. I expect to see the support in the CB4 draft letter. We need you to include the concerns of the community. We have been actively coming here for a year and our voices should be considered by now. The draft scope of work does not include a renovation alternative. How can we have any trust in the process when our voices keep getting shut down? Elected officials know our concerns. We've expressed to them how we feel and they insist on following a false script. We are trusting CB4 to be a support system. We come here and know we are being heard. But when our work is not included.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Love you. God bless you.
Marnie, I think is our last. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, 1 minute.
Go ahead. Okay. Hi, like to give a shout out to all the public housing tenants who've been fighting against demolition and privatization of public housing and who know this is a developer land grab. So thank you. But also I'd like to talk about the West Bank Cafe, a beloved Hell's Kitchen institution that is closing after 46 years. It's like a tragedy. My husband and I own a wine bar and restaurant called the Purple Tongue, and somehow by the grace of God, we are hanging on, but restaurants really have not recovered after the pandemic. 25 to 30% of workers still work from home and rents are still astronomical. So there's really no genuine help for small businesses and restaurants that actually, create the fabric of our neighborhoods. So I'm here to just inform people about that and, call on our elected officials and the community board to really help your small businesses. And we need serious legislative help. So thank you.
Thank you. We actually do have one more. Can you help, Jackie? Yes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeanette Montalvo. I live in Fulton Houses. I'm disabled, as everybody can see. And I see a lot of disabled people going through hell and back, trying to get their things across with the management. My bathroom, I have a walk-in tub and the water comes out. And I told him, why you didn't put the barrier higher? He told me, no, that's the way it goes. Take it or leave it. I'm like, what? Well, fine. So I said, let the water go, just like he wants. And then he's gonna know who's right or wrong. And my doctor actually gave him a letter in writing and stamped it. And he's like, that'll mean a thing to me. Fine. But I live in a very clean home, very organized. Anybody could come to my home and say, my God, you got a beautiful apartment. But that's not the thing. The thing is, if you want something, you gotta work with it.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you.
And we have, thank you. Speaker to finish it out. Roberto?
Yeah, how much time do we have?
1 minute.
Okay, hello, my name is Roberto Rodriguez. I've been a tenant of Fulton Housing since 1983. And I'm here to oppose any demolition of any housing. NYCHA has had a long history of neglecting purposely public housing. And there's no reason for the demolition of these buildings. They need to be repaired properly with the proper funding. Proper funding can come from New York State. After all, they've been returning the stock transfer tax to Wall Street for about 44 years. That's 1/10 of 1 penny, but it generates somewhere between 14 billion to 32 billion dollars. What you need to do, all of you here, is call your state senator and your state assemblyman and speak to James Sanders and speak to Phil Steck, who proposed removing that refund and reinstating that tax. In 1981, it was removed for no reason whatsoever. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight specifically. It's very hot. So thank you very much. And this ends the public session, Jessica.
Did you sign up? Sorry, Pamela Wolf says she signed up. Pamela, you can go.
Pamela, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm back for a second bite of the apple. I've actually, I have a question which occurred to me during the presentations from the Port Authority project. There was a mention of the train tunnel project coming, these massive projects that are all going to arrive at the same time, I guess, including the Western Rail Yards development. What I want to know is, well, let me go back. I moved to Chelsea. My name is Pamela Wolf. I moved to Chelsea in 1956, and I still live in the same apartment. I lived through the demolition of the entire buildings for the site for Penn South, for all the demolition for Elliott Chelsea houses and for Fulton houses. It was living hell in this neighborhood, I will tell you. Everyone was affected by that. What I want to know is, how are we going to survive in this community if Elliott Chelsea and Fulton houses all are to be totally demolished? Please, I can't bear the thought. That's my comment. And that's my question. Has there been any consideration of the impact on this community of all of these things happening at the same time?
Thank you, Pamela. And now here really ends the public session.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you. I'll echo her comments and thanking everybody who came out this evening and respected the 1 minute. At this point, you all have a copy of the agenda in front of you. I just want to note a few edits. Items 14 and 15 are being tabled. So you'll want to note that on your vote sheet as well. And items 21 and 30 are being postponed. So it's items 14 and 15 tabled, items 21 and 30 postponed. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Thank you. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Hands up. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Similarly, I want to thank Katie Stokes and Alice Wong for the minutes. Everyone's had the chance to review those in the Dropbox. Can we get a motion to adopt the minutes? Thank you, Jeffrey. Second, Roberta. Thank you. All in favor? Hands up, please. Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. At this point in our meeting, we welcome the presence of our elected officials. I know it is very difficult because you all are out fighting the good fight and doing so much on behalf of our communities. But in light of the fact that it is already after 8 p.m., we are going to ask that you limit your comments to 90 seconds. So with that, I'm going to turn it to Yi Wang to represent the Manhattan Borough President. She's joining us online. Yi.
Hello?
Yes, hi, we hear you.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Happy summer. I'll be very brief. The first is that we had a vote at our borough board this month on COI housing. We are very happy to say that nearly all the proposals were passed, and we were able to submit the recommendations in time for the hearing at DCP. The borough president also issued his own recommendations for COI housing, which focuses on ways to improve upon certain initiatives, such as including programming at sites that will have supportive housing and more. We have a few upcoming events in the near future. The first one is tomorrow night from 7 to 9. Our office and the Whitney Museum will be hosting Night at the Whitney. Please join us for an exclusive after-hour tour of the museum and special activities, including gallery access and art making. We also launched our NYCHA Connect series, which is to share resources and programming with NYCHA residents to support them in various areas of development. This first session will be on July 29th at 5 p.m. an online presentation on housing and resources available to tenants with landlord-tenant issues by the Harlem Community Justice Center. Our office also, along with the Dominican Day Parade team, will be hosting a Dominican Heritage event on August 1st. We will also participate in the parade on August 11th and the African American Day Parade on September 15th. So if you're interested in joining us, please feel free to reach out. Also, our office and office of MWBE will be hosting a procurement fair on August 9th. This is an opportunity for small businesses to connect with city agencies for contracting opportunities. I know that many of you are enjoying the summer breaks. However, I want to remind everyone our work continues and our volunteer corps will be out at many block parties, open street events, festivals, and NYCHA family days across the borough. So if you're interested in joining our volunteer corps, please go to our website. If you have community events.
Thank you, Yi. Thank you.
Go to our calendar.
Sorry, if you want, thank you. Thank you for joining us. If you want to send any of those extra comments, we'll be sure to include it in our minute.
Okay, thank you.
Feedback. We're going to turn it over now to Hannah. Sorry. To Hannah representing Congressman Nadler.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Wienerman from Congressman Jerry Nadler's office. I know there's a lot going on in DC, so I'm just going to flag a few items that are of local interest. So on Monday, the House passed the Water Resources Development Act of 2024, which includes Congressman Nadler's request to authorize $60 million of the Army Corps of Engineers to work with the City of New York in upgrading Manhattan's environmental infrastructure. Earlier in the month, Congressman Nadler joined his New York and New Jersey colleagues in announcing $6.88 billion in federal DOT funding to jumpstart the construction of the Gateway Tunnel, which, as you know, is one of the most urgently needed infrastructure projects in our country. And because it wasn't our turn to address you last month, I just wanted to reiterate Congressman Nadler's strong disappointment in Governor Hochul's announcement to delay the implementation of congestion pricing. We need it now more than ever to reduce paralyzing vehicle traffic, improve air quality, and raise desperately needed capital funds to enhance the public transit system that millions depend on. He also delivered a statement in support of congestion pricing at June's MTA board meeting. You guys have a lot to cover. If you have any questions, you can contact our office at nadler.house.gov, or you can reach out to me directly. Thanks and have a great meeting.
Thank you, Hannah. Record time. We appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for all of the good work the Congressman is doing. We're going to turn it over now to the representative for Assembly Member Tony Simone, Matt Time.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Ty. I'm Chief of Staff for Assembly Member Tony Simone. First, the Assembly Member wishes he could be here this evening, but he's currently recovering at NYU Langone after a procedure yesterday to remove a ruptured appendix. This procedure went smoothly, and he's going to be back to a full schedule in the coming weeks. He's thankful for all the well wishes that came in today and deeply appreciates the care from the doctors and nurses at NYU. This month, the Assembly Member is introducing two new bills. First, you may have seen a story in the Times about a dog that was tragically killed by a speeding driver, and the resulting consequence likely being just a $100 fine. In response to this, Assemblymember Simone introduced A 10660, which will increase the penalties for reckless driving that results in the injury or death of a pet. It also increases fines for leaving the scene of an injury to an animal without reporting it. Additionally, Assemblymember Simone's introducing legislation that would allow individuals receiving menstrual health procedures, such as IUD insertions, to receive local or general anesthetic from the medical providers and make it mandatory that it's covered by their health insurance policy. Pain faced by women in medical procedures such as these is often underestimated and ignored. Studies have found, particularly in the case of IUD insertions, that providers routinely underestimate the level of pain. By requiring insurance coverage, the bill will increase access and flexibility for patients when denying care. Some things to keep an eye out for. Our office is currently hosting a school supply drive. Donations can be brought to our office at 214 West 29th Street. That will run until August 20th. And if you have need of any papers that need shredding, we'll be bringing shred trucks to both Chelsea and Hell's Kitchen after Labor Day. And it's probably 90 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you. At this point, we're going to jump over our council member and we're going to go to Robin Forrest representing the mayor's office.
Hi, good evening. I will try to be very quick. I wanted to talk about two programs. They're two quality of life issues. One is the illegal cannabis shops. And as most of you know, there was a program launched called Operation Padlock that was with concurrence of Albany that the mayor with the sheriff can padlock illegal shops. To date, there have been 639 shops that are padlocked with 32,000 plus counts violations. And the amount of drugs seized is $51 million. There's a lot more to do, but it's a great start. So I wanted to share that with you. It is an ongoing program. The other thing I wanted to talk about is an accelerator program to improve the safety of e-bikes, their usage, their charging. And there are 3 prongs to the program. One is for the DOT, which will submit a proposal to make approval for property owners to install e-bike charging facilities and allow swapping out of the batteries for bike users. Also, the DOT is going to launch the nation's first municipal trade-in pilot program for unsafe e-bikes and other powered mobility devices, allowing eligible food delivery workers to replace their unsafe devices with safe and legal bikes. The third prong is the fire department is launching a $1 million public education program to raise awareness about the dangers of unsafe lithium batteries. And with that, I wish you a great rest of the summer. If anybody has a question, great. And if not, see you in September.
Thank you, Robin. We're now going to welcome Jordan Feiner, on behalf of our council member.
Hey, everyone. Good to see you. The council member was hoping to be here tonight. He might still stop by later, but is trapped at an event. So for now, you'll get both a shorter person and presentation. Just a handful of quick updates. Recently, the council member penned a letter to the mayor talking about the humanitarian crisis that we're seeing in certain areas of CB4, specifically along 8th Avenue in Chelsea and the Garment District, as well as areas west of Times Square and Hell's Kitchen. I don't think I need to spend too much time talking about the quality of life concerns that we are seeing in terms of mental health, the homeless condition. We're asking for more resources, more attention from the mayor's administration and office, including Be Heard response teams, which include, paramedics and social workers in response to 911 calls. And we have a bit of legislation with council member Yusuf Salam that would place social workers in our precincts into some of these calls that we're seeing. On a lighter note, we recently planted our 500th tree. Shout out to the Parks Department. I'm looking at you, Max, over there. We did that with the Parks Department, obviously, and the Horticultural Society. We announced as well that we are launching a Council District 3 street tree fund with the New York Horticultural Society called Green Be In Between, the City Council District 3 Street Tree Fund. It's a partnership with the Hort that allows residences, businesses, block associations, and others to directly contribute towards tree planting and tree care in the district. We're really excited for that partnership. We are more than halfway to our goal of planting 1,000 trees in Council District 3. We're at 504 officially. That was a number we got. So definitely something that we're very happy about. And then lastly, since we've last given an update, we have passed the budget. It's got that squared away. A couple of capital wins for Community Board 4 area include extensive upgrades to parks and public spaces. I'm just laying this down for you, Max, including McCaffrey Park, DeWitt Clinton, new tree plantings, another one that is not technically a park, but it is a park space, special winner of participatory budgeting, which is a teen multimedia center at the Chelsea Rec Center. We also secured improvements to schools across CB4, including a new HVAC at PS11, tech upgrades at a number of CB4 schools, and a new chairlift for PS 212 Midtown West. I don't know if Marion Fisher is still on there, but I know that's a big win for her. And that's my time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you. We love hearing about the wins, but we also need to get back to work. So thank you. With that, we're going to turn it over now to our district manager, Jesse. I really have newfound appreciation every month for all that Jesse does for us. I'm sure you all join me in thanking him for his hard work in setting us up here tonight and always.
No. Hi, everybody. I'll be very quick. I'm Jesse Bodine, District Manager of Community Board 4. Very quickly, the August committee schedule is up. Business license and permits will be meeting on its scheduled date, Tuesday, July 13th. Everybody else gets a month off, and that's my report.
Thank you. Thank you. For the chair's report now, I want to again welcome our new board members. We introduced them at last month's meeting. Board members have now been assigned to their respective committees. If you aren't sure which committee you're on, please find us afterwards or over email. And I just want to make a quick mention to committee chairs and really all members that please welcome them into your committee meetings as you once experienced the terror of walking into your first meeting, taking your first vote, finding your seat. Do you sit behind the table, next to the table? Please make space for all of them. And I just want to again acknowledge them. If you're here in person, just wave your hand. If you can come off camera, that'd be great too. Liam Buckley, Kevin Collins, Matt Goldstein, Ella Kim, James McDonald, Shanice Mitchell, and Katie Savage. We're delighted to have all of you and hope you feel welcome. We're really thrilled you're here. I want to also thank Alice Wong for raising her hand and accepting an assignment to represent CB4 on the Times Square Community Advisory Committee. So if you have any concerns or questions, know that Alice is representing us there. And as I mentioned at the top of this meeting, we have a number of significant projects which continue to work their way through our board process, all of which have already been referenced in tonight's meeting. As still a relatively new chair, Jesse assures me it is atypical to have so many big projects all at once. But nevertheless, here we are. And tonight's meeting features over 60 pages of material devoted to the three biggest: the Port Authority Bus Terminal, City of Yes on Housing, and NYCHA. Against this backdrop, I want to share that in just the past 2 weeks, I've had the honor and opportunity to represent CB4 at two momentous occasions: the groundbreaking for the MTA site, the Lirio at 806 9th Avenue, for permanent and affordable supportive housing project, which will produce 112 much-needed permanently affordable homes, including 67 units of affordable housing, 44 affordable units of 30 to 120% AMI, office space for the MTA, and retail space. And just this past Monday, I attended the announcement for the Chelsea Bayview site hosted by our Governor Kathy Hochul, where she announced the selection of developers to transform the former Bayview Correctional Facility just over there into a 124-unit affordable housing complex called Liberty Landing. In addition to affordable housing, there will be on-site supportive services, including job training, family and relationship coaching, nutrition counseling, and mental health care. The development will also include a 9,300 square foot community facility unit that will focus on youth-oriented program and a 15-unit short-term transitional residence to support individuals with mental health needs requiring temporary housing. All of these services will be enveloped in the building's historic fabric under the guidance of SHPO. This is a huge accomplishment. I want to acknowledge many people on this board, all of you who have shepherded this to this important moment. And back at the north end of our district, construction is about to begin on the long vacant DEP site, now known as the Rialto, at 509 West 48th Street, which will produce 158 apartments, 15% of units reserved for formerly homeless individuals, 25% of units for households earning 50% AMI, 20% of units for households earning 80% AMI, and 30% of units for households earning 120 AMI, 10% of units earning 130 AMI. These units will range in size from studios to 3 bedrooms. I say all of this in the context for what you already know, which is that CB4 leads on housing. We have walked the walk when welcoming new development and the transformation of underutilized locations to bring housing to our neighborhood. Tonight, we will be taking a vote on City of Yes on housing, the third and final in the mayor's initiative to modernize and update our city's zoning regulations. I know the discussion leading up to tonight on this proposal has been robust and the work arduous. And I want to thank all those who have contributed mightily to what's been reflected in the submission that you all are reviewing this evening. While there has been debate, there has been a lot of alignment on the content of the conditions, something I hope will be remembered and lifted up this evening, as I am sure the discussion and debate will continue. In addition to offering a reminder that we keep the conversation civil and respectful of all views, I want to emphasize that the Lirio, Liberty Landing, and the Rialto, 3 significant projects newly underway, are the direct result of this board's involvement and action, something I hope we can count on for decades to come. With that, we'll now turn to the business portion of our meeting. We'll hear from our committees, beginning with the business license and permits, which has a motherload of letters to start us with. So we will turn it over to you, Frank, for leading us through.
Hi there. I know you're going to be disappointed, but I'm going to spare you and not discuss any of these individually. There were no comments in the public session about any of them. And I think the committee vote was pretty unanimous, or perhaps unanimous on all of them. So any questions, anybody?
Can you remind us the tabled item?
Go to the mic. Sorry.
Sure.
What? So sorry, what's tabled, what's postponed?
14 and 15. And what's postponed are 20 and 21 and 30. 3 of those are actually the same establishment at 773 10th Avenue. They have to do with sidewalk dining, roadway dining, and a liquor license, but it's the same place.
Sorry, is it 20, 21 and 30 or?
14 and 15 are tabled, 21 and 30 are postponed.
Any concerns with any of the particular applications that the committee had to put extra attention to that we should be aware of?
Not particularly. I mean, what's been taking most of our time has been outdoor dining because what we get approved from the DOT does not really conform with what's on the street when we go out and look at them. So that's been time consuming, but ultimately uncontroversial, and most of the applicants have been happy to work with us to adjust things accordingly.
Question. How you doing? Just a quick question. In item number 27, it had 2 block associations that were approved that got denied with conditions. But the applicant's okay with that? That's a matter of just proceeding accordingly?
Yes, those are pretty common conditions, but you're talking about doors and windows closed and that sort of stuff.
Right, so.
Yeah, those were included as stipulations that the applicant agreed to.
Because it's good, okay with it, and the 2 block associations were okay with it. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Tabled is 14 and 15. Postponed are 21 and 30.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, hi. So how does postponed correlate with the vote sheet?
I believe you just put postponed across the vote.
Can you tell us? Sorry, Mike, we'll get to for everyone, we'll get to the vote sheet and suggestions on how to handle that at the end.
All right.
Okay, I think we're seeing no other questions for Frank. Thank you, Frank. We're now going to move on to Clinton Hell's Kitchen Land Use. JD.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry about that. This is a letter from the Land Use Committee of Hell's Kitchen. Thank you so much. Quiet out there. This is a letter from the Land Use Committee. I'm the co-chair along with Paul Devlin. We worked very hard on this letter with the Transportation Committee. Christine Berthet and I actually did the letter in French, but we translated to English. We also worked with a working group, Bert Lazarin, the inimitable Betty McIntosh, Jessica, and the inimitable Jeffrey Francois. So sorry. You follow me, you follow me everywhere. Thank you very much. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. This is item 35. It's from the Hills Kitchen Land Use Committee. Paul Devlin and myself are the co-chairs. We worked very hard with Christine Burkett. We did it all in French, but we translated to English. We worked with the working group, Bert Lazarin and the inimitable Betty McIntosh and Jessica and the inimitable Jeffrey LaFrancois, and also the land use legal team of Restuccia and Sullivan. So this letter is a composite letter. Everybody worked on it. I want to thank her for those kind comments. I believe we have worked together. Just have to tell you, it's all on YouTube. So we have you down to rights, whatever you said, still work to do, still changes to be made. And thank the legal team, Adam and everybody else for cooperating with us. We still got a ways to go. There'll be changes to this letter. Leslie and Marty, also the Waterfront Environment Committee, contributed mightily to this letter. Thank you both. Jessica, that's it.
Are there any questions, comments on the letter? If so, please come to the mic. If you're on this side, you can use that mic since we know that's a better one, but go ahead. Go ahead. No. Can you come to this side? Yeah. Anybody else who wants to make comments on this, please orient yourself to this microphone.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I just want to thank everybody for working the letter. A quick clarification on line 342. I think the letter makes reference to the environmental impact letter that CB4 sent. I think it was March 18th, not March 6th is the date of the letter. And then clarifying that would pick up trying to get the Port Authority to take a look again at the affordable housing aspect of it and clearing the pathways for the avenues, including 9th, 10th, and 11th for pedestrian traffic and bike lanes.
JD needs to go back to the mic.
The one on the CB4 website says March 18th, but it's a small thing. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll change the date.
Everyone can hear?
Yes.
Mike, so everyone can hear?
I don't know why it was changed on the website. The letter says March 6th. We have enemies in cyberspace, so they may have changed it, but we'll change it back, Kevin.
That's good. I just want to say, I think we should still consider pushing the design. It's pretty weak. It could be extraordinary. And I know you said more is to come, but I really like to make that note in there that it really needs to be pushed to be iconic. And also, I don't know if I missed it, but who's paying for the park? What's in the park? I'm sure that's in there, but I don't know if I missed that.
Christine, where you can respond in the mic.
Hirsch is paying for the park. They're paying for the park and they're paying for everything. And the community is directly involved in designing what goes on there. That was my question.
We're going to the second letter.
What does that noise? Okay, hi, everybody. I'm Paul Devlin, co-chair with JD. We had another application for amendment for a POPS, a privately owned public space. The letter is pretty self-explanatory. They were asking for an additional 5 tables outside of a local coffee shop to be able to provide seating for their customers. We are approving the request for the modification. From the Dropbox, there is one edit. I took a couple of edits from Rachel Lee that were accepted without problem, but there's one sentence that we added that better reflects the committee vote that's not in Dropbox. I'm just going to read it to you. We recommend the applicant use the currently approved 5 tables for a period of 6 months to monitor the program's success before increasing the table count to 10. Any questions on the letter?
Okay. Thank you, Paul. All right, at this point, we're going to move to Chelsea land use, and this is where we put some candies on the table. If they've been sitting in front of you, switch them over to the right because your neighbor probably hasn't received, and we're settling in now to the meat of the agenda now that we've passed a big hurdle here. Thank you all for your work on Clinton Hell's Kitchen. Chelsea land use.
To the tee up. I'm Carrie Keenan. I'm a co-chair of Chelsea Land Use, and I'll be presenting our letters. Our first letter is a letter to our elected officials regarding the Chelsea NYCHA redevelopment plan, expressing our frustration with a lack of transparency and participation on this issue by the development team with whom we have been engaging for over a year now. We had 3 motions passed in committee. The first was to change the addressee of the letter and therefore the tenor from the development team to our elected officials. The reason for this was the feeling that we now need their intervention in order to move forward. Another was that all new construction be at least 50% affordable housing if there is new construction, and then only allow market rate housing as needed to finance Chelsea NYCHA redevelopment. That was not controversial. And finally, to create a new working group of all stakeholders. I believe the most important part of this letter is the bulleted list of additional stipulations we outline as a general framework for how things should proceed. We've received and accepted many friendly amendments from Betty, Marty, Leslie, Dave. Just a quick note on Leslie's amendment, which has to do with environmental concerns. We are definitely going to have maybe another whole letter on that. We just felt like this wasn't the one. So thank you for that, though. I took notes and wrote it already. We've also received some comments that we do not take as friendly to the extent that they're not in the scope of this letter. They present opinion and not fact, which is what we're really after, facts, and that they make recommendations that have not been taken up by the committee or the board. Additionally, over the past several days, we have received numerous emails in support of the redevelopment plan and likewise from the group we heard from tonight. And we also continue to hear from folks who are opposed to any changes on the NYCHA campuses as well. So as you can imagine, as you see, this is incredibly complicated. I get to be the one. And it is not a one-sided issue. So we are really trying to hear from all sides of the community. That said, in my opinion, and after much thought, I personally cannot support reconvening a working group and would like to strike that from the letter. It adds another layer of complexity and goes beyond what is needed right now, which are answers to our questions, transparency, and a commitment to our stipulations from our elected officials. On this letter and with that tee up, I am sure there will be questions and comments.
If you have questions or comments, we'll ask that you go. I'm sorry to have everyone go to the one side, but we're down to one microphone. So please go ahead and line up and just please go ahead and line up. And we'll again just ask everyone, we do want to hear from everyone. This is the business portion of the meeting, but we will ask that you keep your remarks relatively brief. And if this is not the committee discussion, this is a discussion on the letter. Christine.
Hello. Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to send the friendly amendment by email. I would have done that otherwise. But I thought in the bullets, maybe it would be helpful to have no multiple relocation. I think in the bullet it says, you know, try to limit that. I would make it an absolute requirement so that people are not moving multiple times, that people are relocated to the same size apartments, which was something that people were concerned about, and that people are relocated in priority before the luxury units. We don't want to see all the luxury units being built while the people are, you know, suffering the construction. So those 3 things are things that I would like to see as friendly amendments. And then, you know, reflecting on what we heard today, maybe we could have a sentence we say we are in favor of, you know, moving, provided that those things are done. but moving the construction, starting the process, starting whatever the process is. We don't even know what the process is, right? But starting, and because a lot of people say, you know, I'll be dead when this all happens, and I relate to that. So this would be my.
Can I answer you real quick? In terms of where we are in the process, we are still waiting for the draft scope of work response to our letter that we sent, and so are many other agencies. And one thing, Christine, about relocating to the same size apartment, as it currently stands, the development plan will right size. So that there is not necessarily a guarantee that people will be moved into the same size apartment.
I have several comments. The word trust has become a constant in our discussions of this plan and this letter, and yet it doesn't appear once in this draft. The main point of the letter should be to let the electeds know that the board and the broader community have lost faith in the process. They need to hear that. We should mention the lack of public trust in the development team and its plan in bold type in the first paragraph. Placing reprised working group as the third section buries the lead in my view. This is our big ask of the electeds. I think it is important that this be closely followed by the development proposal section because it points to the need for a reconvened, which is my preferred word, working group. This section should be retitled Concerns about the Development Proposals. The interim repair section is critical, but wasn't the chief motive for directly addressing the electeds. It should be retitled Urgent Need for Interim Repairs. Page 1, lines 23 to 24 say MCB4 was the first entity to hold a public forum on this topic after a story in the New York Times was published on June 20th, 2023. It doesn't say what story. This should read MCB4 was the first entity to hold a public forum on the plan after its first announcement to the public in the New York Times on June 20th, 2023, which took even members of the Chelsea NYCHA Working Group by surprise. Page 1, lines 33 to 34 say in 2018, NYCHA proposed to demolish 2 of the 9th Avenue buildings on the Fulton NYCHA campus as part of a PAC red proposal. This should read demolish 2 of the 9th Avenue buildings on the Fulton NYCHA campus and replace them with larger mixed income buildings. Page 2, line 2 should say radical departure rather than significant departure from the original RFP. I don't see why we'd want to tiptoe around that. Page 2, lines 40 to 41 say the development team's astronomical renovation estimate. While these numbers may indeed be factual, the information leading to the significant increases in cost has yet to be made public. This is far too tepid and makes us sound vulnerably credulous. I suggest this extraordinary escalation has enormous potential impact for Chelsea. The public should not be expected to take it at face value, and yet information explaining it has not been made public in over a year. Page 2, lines 44 to 45 say this matter is especially significant given the atypical relationship between the development team and NYCHA's cost estimates. Development team should be with an apostrophe S for possessive. The atypical relationships needs to be described. The following sentence after it should read a September 2023 report by the city found that actual renovation costs consistently come in lower and usually much lower than NYCHA's estimates when comprehensive rehabilitation is done by PAC red private sector developers. This was found to be true for all 9 such projects in 2023. A shorter version of this sentence would read, it has been well documented that actual renovation costs come in lower than NYCHA's estimates when comprehensive rehabilitation is done by PAC red private sector developments. Page 2, lines 45 to 46 say.
Dave, if I can ask you to focus on the items that are not line edits, because I believe you sent those in and they were accepted as friendly.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
I think these were accepted as, the line edits were largely accepted as friendly, and Carrie alluded to that. So if you could just focus your remaining remarks on the substantive topics you'd like for there to be for discussion.
One has to do with the reconvened working group, and it says we in no way mean to delay this project, but rather use the time to have the proposals move through the land use action process to get the answers we seek so as to be able to make an informed recommendation at its conclusion. That's not what we voted on in CLU. We voted on a working group to, quote, work toward a solution and, quote, find middle ground. Joe Restuccia had earlier described it as a pause of several months to come up with something everyone can live with and to restore public trust. These should be critical concerns for the electeds we're addressing. I'd like to hear more from Joe about how he would describe it and how the group's timeframe would affect that of the ongoing environmental review process. My worst nightmare is that we'll be left commenting on the current proposals at the end of the review process. One is horrible and the other far worse, but that's what's bearing down on us. There is no non-demolition alternative. We're looking to avert a disaster. I suggest substituting the goal of this group, substituting these words. The goal of this group would be flexible exploration of a plan that would unite the community and restore public trust. We might add a plan that greatly reduced demolition might provide decent housing for the NYCHA residents much sooner than the draft scope of work's new construction alternatives. My other items are line by line. I would say that regarding the last paragraph, we say MCB4 looks forward to hearing from our elected officials on this very important matter. That's a really generic sounding sign off that doesn't convey our level of distress. I suggest we urgently request your help. The final sentence says our hope still is to achieve more transparent parent working relationship, et cetera, which I think doesn't really go to the loss of trust that we're experiencing. It seems to make us look like we're continuing to trust the process. I would leave that one out. Our message should be that we have a really big problem with a lack of trust that we want our electeds to hear about.
Co-chairs like to respond, or should we move on? Let's move on. Joe.
So as the co-chair of housing, I recommended that we convene a working group, smaller version of the folks listed here, all the stakeholders, but that be done concurrently during the current process. And we should note that it's concurrent and not stopping the current process. So it's very clear that that action is nothing to do with delay. The second thing is that the group should specifically explore all options. We should not say yes or no or anything. Get the presentations and then come up with something that gets consensus and trust of all those stakeholders listed. So I support a working group that does not delay, that is concurrent with the current land use process, period.
Thanks, Joe. Chairs, do you want to respond? Nope. Okay. Roberta.
Thank you. And thank you to Joe for addressing one of my concerns related to the creation of a working group. I do have and remain having concerns about a potential delay. While I do appreciate the idea that this would be concurrent with the process, we have certainly had groups continue longer and individuals utilize the process in order to prolong things that we heard tonight tenants desperately need. I also would like to express concern that individuals and interest groups within the community who are not NYCHA tenants and who are not involved in this particular development process, they will utilize this working group to exert influence over the process that really ought to be driven by the tenants who live in these developments. Per Carrie's recommendation, I would like to move that we consider striking that section. That is on page 3, and that is lines 3 to 13 relating to the reprised working group.
Thank you, Roberta. Paul?
Hi, everybody. I was in favor of this letter until the comment that we're going to strike the working group. I think that there might be some misinterpretation of where I stand on a working group. I agree with Joe's position that it was a concurrent. We have no reason to stop, pause, or delay this construction. We heard that tonight in detail from the people who live in NYCHA. I often say I will ask for advice from NYCHA residents as to how I will vote because I don't live in NYCHA. I will ask for their opinion and support their position. And we heard it very clearly tonight that delaying is not really an option. So I would suggest we find a way to put a working group together, much like we have Port Authority Bus Terminal Working Group. That's an ongoing, working in partnership, building trust, but not to pause. So perhaps we can find a way to create a working group that doesn't pause the project, work with the existing team members and keep this on track. So if we can find a way to have a working group that does that, then I will support this letter. If we strike the working group, I'm going to have a hard time supporting this.
Maria? Thank you, Jessica. So I do see some new members here that I didn't get to say hello to. I know one person so far though, Katie. Welcome to the new members. I'm Maria Ortiz, I'm Latina, Puerto Rican and Dominican, okay? So thank you, Rachel. I was born and raised in Hell's Kitchen in Chelsea. My grandmother completed an application, I have it date and time stamped, to live at Chelsea Elliott Houses in 1957, 57. And I have lived there for more than half of my life. I don't live there currently. Currently, I live in Hell's Kitchen. So I do feel strongly. So my mother and my aunt were raised there, and I have spoken to them about their thoughts about this. And my aunt unfortunately passed in May. And she said, Maria, we were talking about this kind of thing happening there when I was a young girl. Okay. I don't know if she's exaggerating or not, but that's what she said to me. I'm going off tangent, Jessica. I hope that's okay. I know we need to get out. But I think it's really important. The tenants that are here, I wish the crowd was still here so that they could hear what we're saying. And I think it's powerful that people leave during the meeting and they didn't get to hear what we have to say, right? But it's powerful that they were here and shared their position. My position, I do believe if I were still living there, I would want a new place to live as well, right? And I would be furious if I had the repairs that need to get done and the issues that keep coming up, that rise to the surface that we keep hearing about over and over and over again. But what I can tell you, being in part of the meetings that are not public or not recorded with Jeffrey, Kerry, Jessica, my co-chair Joe, is that there is an issue over and over and over again about the lack of transparency that we are hearing, okay, from the developers, okay, over and over again. And I do believe there is power in choice. There is power in numbers. And I think it is critical. And I think it is important that a working group, concurrent, be formed and it be short term. In the closed door meetings we had, we talked about 3 to 6 months. I don't know where 2 years is coming up. Okay. I think it's critical and I think it's important. And I think we still need to have that part in the letter. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Is there anyone else interested? I do want to acknowledge there seems there was some confusion. There has been there's been suggestions. There's been no motion made. If someone was intending to make a motion, I would encourage you to revisit that and come back to the mic. But until then, Brad.
I'm just a little confused about working group. This is what the committees do. This is what.
I'm sorry. Roberta is clarifying that she said I moved to, and Jesse and I agree that we did not hear that. So apologies, but maybe it's our sound. But if you want to, I'll hand the mic. If you want to make your way back to that mic and then restate that, because if we didn't hear it, others may not have. So you can go back. Let's hear from Brad for now, and then we'll go back to that.
I mean, when we say working group, the work is being done all the time. And I think you were just referring to that. I don't know where she went. So I'm a little confused why we want to stall it. This happens all the time as part of our normal process. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Brad. Sorry, was Roberta coming?
I think I made 2 friendly amendments. Is that fair?
Yes.
And I was asking to move. I just want to raise the issue that the working group is the people which are in the working group may not be trusted by the community. And there are issues around that. So just by saying a working group, we may not be getting to the bottom of the issue. Just saying.
Want to clarify, there is currently no working group. So, but I just want to clarify for everybody's.
Right. The last group, I think there are miscommunication or not trust between the working group member and some of the people of the community. So we need to address that.
I will restate briefly my comment, which was I do continue to have concerns that convening a working group will lead to delays, though I am, I appreciate the attempts to allay those concerns, but I also would like to state the concerns that creating a working group will allow individuals who have a stake that may be opposed to the interests of the tenants of the NYCHA development to exert influence on this process. I think that that is inappropriate because we do not live in those buildings, and this ought to be a tenant-led process. With that, I would like to move to strike the section relating to a reprised working group on page 3 of the letter, comprising lines 3 to line 13.
So we have a motion. We'll need a second. Sorry, Jesse, do you want to say something?
Can Hector speak and then?
Hector, we're just going to let Hector speak, and then we're going to come back to get a second on this. Go ahead, Hector.
There's been a lot of mention of trust tonight, and trust that these people are suffering in these buildings, as you say, you all know. Being a resident of NYCHA myself, even though I'm not present and not allowed to vote on this particular letter because of my situation, it's basically pretty one-sided the way things are going. I appreciate there are certain individuals that are saying that the working group should not be reconvened or it should be concurrent. Honestly, it's all a smokescreen. It's basically a decision was made by the majority of the residents who actually live in these hellholes, which is what they are, and they continue to do so. And as some of you have already said, the residents should make the decision here. A working group was convened. Maybe the plan had changed along the way because of the situation, but the residents are still for the plan moving ahead of getting new buildings. So I think the working group idea should be totally stricken from the letter. And honestly, I think it should still go to the developers as originally stated in the previous meeting. Okay, thank you.
Hector, we're now going to go to the folks online who haven't spoken yet. And if anybody else in person wants to speak, sorry, Jesse just was schooling me on our procedure here, recognize the motion. We're now going to get the rest of the comments and then we'll go from there. Betty?
Thank you. I'll try to be quick. I agree generally with what David said and what Joe said. And I don't think that a working group has to meet, a working group can make the process faster rather than slower because elected officials need to work with a handful of people so that they can understand what they need to advocate for. And it doesn't mean shutting out the residents of the buildings under concern. And I think that's kind of a red herring. And so that's, and I don't think the part of the letter should be stricken about the working group. Thank you.
Betty, we're now going to go to Mike Noble.
Yeah, hi. Well, I can't vote either. I can still comment. And I am in favor of getting rid of that whole concept of a working group. Not only will it delay things, but it simply gives a performance stage to people who are looking for that. All right, let's let the process carry on as it is. We're doing well, I think, the way things are going. So if I were able to vote, I'd vote against the working group being included into the letter. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. We're going to go now to Leslie.
Hi, thank you so much. This is really just an honest question. I can't remember the last time that this board has advocated to take the community out of the process. I can't, like, that's shocking to me that we're saying not having a working group. No, I mean like having people say, you know, we don't want transparency. We don't want a working group or whatever you want to call it. I would think makes people accountable, right? It gives someone to answer to. And I don't know, Roberta said that it should be the NYCHA. I correct me if I'm wrong, Hector. I think the working group, the original was made up of a lot of NYCHA residents. So it wasn't like they were excluded from the process. And I just don't remember the last time this board advocated for not, you know, no transparency, because if there is no, and we don't have to call it a working group, or maybe we can call it a resident commission, whatever you want to call it. But some group of residents that they are related, they're accountable to, and the NYCHA is accountable to, because that accountability and transparency, it's so important. And if we give that away, I think we're not doing ourselves a favor or the residents a favor to have their voice.
Thank you, Leslie. Katie?
Thanks. I think we are struggling as a group. I think a lot of us agree. In fact, I think all of us agree that there should be answers obtained. But I think that this idea of a working group being reconvened suggests that we are reopening a process that has been closed. And I'm not sure that that's what's intended. And I think what would be super helpful here is if we frankly change the description. I don't think we should be reconvening a working group whose business is concluded. I think we need to get these groups of people involved in helping get the answers that everybody wants. And the language, though, that says that we want to meet until we get everybody on the same page, I frankly think isn't constructive. I do think it would be super helpful to say there should be a group of concerned, relevant people that is going to meet for the next 3 months, give a very date-specific thing, and whose goal is to get answers to questions that have already been asked, and to let people have further input. But I do not think it should be called a working group. And so I guess I'm speaking in favor of Roberta's motion, or at least in changing what is being asked for here, but to be very clear that we are not reopening something that has already happened. Thanks.
Just want to note for Katie's benefit, nothing has happened because what happened in the last working group was a whole plan that was consensus driven. And what's happened since is that privately, this developer and this agency changed the entire plan, and it was radically changed. Again, I'm going to say to the NYCHA tenants, to everybody, we can only say, maybe Katie, the one suggestion I'm going to subscribe to here, let's give it a 3-month time frame. We can give it another name, but the idea that Chelsea NYCHA, only the NYCHA tenant should deal with the major redevelopment of a major part of Chelsea and a major rezoning is not how our community board has ever worked. That would mean that only if I own this piece of land, I get to speak on it, people on my block, and no one else. The entire neighborhood should be part of it. And I am going to recommend again that we have a revised language concurrent with the current process and a 3-month time frame on it. And I think that can get us hopefully to consensus with all the stakeholders.
And then
Just one or two points to make. One, I'm lucky enough in my work to be on lots of working groups in lots of different places doing lots of different things. What strikes me about working groups is that sometimes nothing ever gets done. So I want to start from this perspective of saying we can focus on getting a working group. We can focus on not having a working group. We can try to figure out the name of a working group. At the end of the day, if I understand correctly, based on the committee experiences that I've been part of in this conversation, we have not felt like we have been at the table in a meaningful way. Things are happening or decisions are getting made. We're finding out after the fact. And at the end of the day, the only thing that's really happening right now, which I think should be the biggest concern imaginable, because however this development plays out, restoration, reconstruction, demolition, or otherwise, however this plays out right now, there are a massive number of repairs that no one is taking responsibility for. And our letter and our communication doesn't lead with that. What on earth are you doing to allow people to live like this right now is absurd and an embarrassment. And we should be focused, laser-like focused on that topic. Again, I just want to reiterate, I'm a no on this letter. And part of the reason why in my final note on this, it's not because I don't think there's valuable content within it, or that it can't be shaped in a different way, or that line changes aren't going to solve the problem. It starts from the perspective of this. This letter, I don't believe is going to move our elected officials to do what they need to do to step up. It takes more than what we have done here tonight or what we're talking about to see that execution, to address those cardboard pieces of paper boxes that were put up earlier to say, this is what I live in right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
So thanks, everybody. I just want to follow up a little bit that the idea that we would prioritize the working group over interim repairs says everything about why I am against the working group. Can't hear me?
No.
Should I say it again? Okay. It feels like a way for people to have a say who don't have a say right now, but not the right people. So that is why I brought that up as to strike. The interim repairs should be the priority. Totally agree. That is why it's top of the list. And this letter is what is advocating for transparency. We are doing this all the time. Like, this is not like no working group, no work. We are working constantly on this. Maria, Joe, Jeffrey, all of us, Jessica, Jesse. So, just to say that we don't need this group to delay does not mean we're not going to keep working on this issue. That's what this letter is for. It's demanding transparency, and it's demanding our elected officials get involved.
Okay, we are gonna have to, we have to have a second. So we have a motion on the table. We're waiting a second. Is there a second? And then we'll do a call to question.
I would just like to say that if this group, whatever we're calling it, is just going to get in line asking questions that we haven't gotten answers to forever, that's pretty futile. The idea was to kind of heal the process. We talked about, should we go back to before the RFP was issued because we can't trust related anymore? Should we go back to right after so that we don't lose the development partner? But the idea was to kind of cure that scar that was really created when the process went from one that had community involvement to one that just exploded into something completely different. And I think that's very important to have a group who could look at that and to begin to propose new things to break this impasse. And, that's all I have to say. I would not vote to have some kind of group that's innocently and non-harmfully working away at the same time that the review process goes forward. I don't see what the harm of that could be. It would be important to engage our electeds and to have this not just be a one-shot letter, but a continuous sort of channel of communication with them. Thank you.
I just want to acknowledge that we are not hearing consistent definitions on what a working group would do and the time it would take and play. I just want to acknowledge that for the discussion that is in the vote that will take place. Jeffrey, and then we are going to move on with this.
Mic check. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Carrie, co-chair, everybody. I am present, not eligible on this letter. And so thanks to Carrie for leading the charge on this. But just a couple of comments. Language matters, and it's also confusing at the same time. And the meetings that we have been having with the development team and the community board and our elected officials have been at times stagnated, but at times productive, and no less incredibly frustrating. But we've been in the room where discussions are happening. And that's been important. What a public working group does, or a public group, task force, convening of interested parties, and then how do you define interested party? Creates additional layers of process. And imagine a working group has to convene and take up an issue. Then it comes to Chelsea Land Use or the Housing Committee meeting, right? And so working group month 1, community board month 2, full board vote following month. That's 3 months already on one topic alone that working group comes up. So inherently in the idea of an additional layer, there is delay. If the community board is going to be part of a working group, we're going to be expected to engage and to take in that information, then run it through our existing processes of committees, then bring it to full board, then bring that back to the table. So inherently, I do not fundamentally believe this can happen concurrently, while we can also have these conversations where decisions are being made. And so that is why if I could vote, I would vote to strike this, because I believe the framework of this letter really lays out how we should be engaging. Those bullets are so important. That's what we expect, and that will guide our conversation going forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So to repeat, we have a motion, and Roberta, I'm just looking at you to make sure I have this right, is to strike on page 2, page 3, excuse me, lines 3 through 13. That is correct. Okay, so that is the motion, is to strike that entirely. Do we have a second? Katie, we have a second? Any comments and discussion on this? Otherwise, we will take a vote.
Jessica, what did you say the motion was? Because I was talking in a pause, sorry.
The motion is to strike lines 3 through 13, which is the entire paragraph that currently begins a reprised working group, on page 3. Okay, we'll take so do we do by hands or?
Yeah, hand vote.
So if you are in favor of this motion to strike the reprised working group, please raise your hand and keep them up, and same online.
Hands high, please. Keep them high. It's just remarkable online.
1, 2. 1, 2.
11, 12. Listen, can you remind people online that they couldn't?
And folks online, if you have your hands up, please put them up now. I see one hand up.
Okay.
Sub 14. Okay. Okay. All those against? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi. Ted, hi. 1.
You're asking for the same votes over again?
No, I'm asking for those against. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 19, 20, 21, 22, and I don't know where you're doing.
3.
I don't know if she can vote.
Can you just?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay, if you are present,
Yeah, now we have a president. Yeah, abstain.
abstain. If you're abstaining from this vote, please raise your hand high all the way up. 1, 2.
2 abstentions.
And present not eligible. 1, 2, 3. 3. So the motion does
not carry.
The motion does not pass. So we'll go back to the original letter with the friendly amendments that were recognized. Joe, if you have something to say, please get yourself to a microphone. Carrie, I don't know if you want to respond any further about the friendly amendments that you are prepared to accept that were discussed here this evening.
Jeffrey asked the vote count, please.
Jeffrey asked for the vote count.
Oh.
Yeah.
12, yeah. 12 yeses, 23 nos, 2 abstentions, and 3 P&Es.
In terms of friendly amendments, I think that I spoke to that at the beginning, that we accept some and we do not accept others. Yeah. Do I need to go?
Sure. The ones that you're planning to accept.
Well,
more about the spirit, like if the comments about trust, et cetera.
We have received and accepted friendly amendments from Betty. That was about a footnote. Got lost in the translation from Google Docs to Word doc. From Marty, stronger language at the close of the letter. Leslie adding a bullet point about environmental budgeting, which I said we'll get a lot more into in the future. Dave had suggestions throughout that we accept and some that we do not. Sure.
Sure. Sorry, 1 second.
Okay, well, here's your notes. Let's see. We do not accept, the main point of this letter should be to let electeds know that the board and broader community have lost faith in the process. We say that in the letter. So that's not like a non-friendly amendment, but we say that. We are not going to, you say that you want to up the Reprise working group, like in front of interim repairs. We don't accept that as a friendly amendment. We do not think that that's, they're equal in any ways. You said concerns about the development proposals, change the language, changed, urgent need for repairs, changed. MCB4 was the first entity to hold a public, the New York Times changed. In 2018, NYCHA proposed to demolish that sentence paragraph changed. You say like the numbers defy common sense. I'm not going to put that in the letter.
That's not what I was proposing.
I'm sorry. Team, you gave me some other, like development teams, apostrophe S changed.
There's not going to be back and forth at this point. The letter, you can vote against or for the letter. We just carry if you want to stick to the high level spirit.
I'm trying.
Yeah, no, you're doing great.
Cost estimate, that we changed, but then I actually looked back and that's at the top of that paragraph. So, but I'll look at that again. Blah, blah, blah. I think we need clarification on what we want to say the working group is, because that whole section to me is upside down. You said we don't want to be making informed recommendations. We want to head them off. No, I'm not putting that in the letter. I don't know what that means. I mean, that seems like a personal agenda. The plan, reduced demolition, might provide, then you offer an alternative, which is not in the scope of this letter. We're not taking alternatives we're not voting on other development plans right now. Page 3, the development of a realistic project timeline and a timeline for non-demolition changed.
Thank you very much, Carrie. At this point, Joe, unless we have anything, we have a letter. You can vote for or against it. Joe, if you have something new to add, otherwise we do need to move on.
I wanted to return now that the paragraph is in to bring clarification that I suggested before, that it be 3 months and that it be concurrent with no delay. So it's very clear and explicit about that. Is that friendly, Harry?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is accepted as a friendly amendment. Okay, Maria, are you saying something? Great. David, and very briefly, and then we're going to move on.
To call the question. Okay, I just want to say that some of what Carrie read was my commentary. Everything that I proposed to put in the letter was in quotes. Much of what she was striking is not what I had in quotes.
Just not accepted.
Well, not accepted.
There's going to be a vote. And you
Can be done offline. I don't think this needs to be in front of the board. Thank you. All right, we are now, thank you, Carrie. I appreciate you being a real pro here with us. We are now going to move on. We have a second letter from Chelsea Land Use. I'm not going to make Jeffrey do that.
On a roll.
I volunteer.
Second letter is, this is a LPC application for a facade modification at 436 West 20th Street due to unsafe conditions. This is a letter for ratification. It came out of Chelsea Land Use with a vote of 9 approved, 5 opposed, 0. And then we brought it to exec because we felt that because the applicant was going to LPC before we could get it here in this meeting to full board, that we should bring it to exec to make sure that, to say that it wasn't exactly unanimous. So, and then exec also voted it.
Thank you, Terry.
Approved.
Thank you. We're going to hear Dave. I just want to acknowledge, I did not think I was going to have to say this tonight. We are up against a deadline. Everything has to be out of this space no later than 10 p.m., which means we have to be done with our meeting by 9:45. We need to keep this moving. Dave, please be brief.
I'll be quick. I had planned to speak against this letter tonight, thinking we'd be voting to send it to LPC rather than ratify it. I didn't realize the committee's vote would be finalized in the executive committee meeting, which I missed. It's my mistake for not realizing this was standard July practice. I oppose this project in CLU because it would permanently and unnecessarily replace much of the facade's historic fabric and destroy the functioning of its character-defining Flemish bond brickwork. In the CLU meeting, a motion to approve was made before it was even clear that questioning of the presenter had ended. We were then told we had only 6 minutes to come to a vote because of a packed agenda. I think that rushed passage of the motion. Committee members may also have been misled by the motion, which argued that the project would restore the facade to its original fabric, consistent with our past positions. But the proposal would remove historic fabric, which we always resist. That's not just us. The national standard for preservation requires retention of the greatest possible amount of historic fabric. The executive committee voted 9-1, which was reported to LPC, but the closer vote of the committee was not reported. In the executive committee meeting, which I reviewed after the fact, in fact, it was stated that the project would address a structural problem and that it would put back 100% of the removed bricks. Neither is true. No mention was ever made of a structural problem, and the applicant's presentation showed replacement of much existing brickwork with concrete block. The letter is incorrect on these counts too. It also states that the current facade condition prevents installation of new windows, but replacement windows in historic buildings are customized to fit irregular openings all the time. You don't fit the facade to the off-the-shelf windows. This house is likely about to be put on the market as a mansion after being emptied of 7 apartments. I suspect the proposal was squaring it up for curb appeal. LPC held its hearing on this proposal last week. Only we supported it. The Historic Districts Council and Victorian Society opposed it, and the Landmarks Commission cited their testimony in failing to approve it. Just as I had in CLU, Landmarks Commissioner Goldblum made a case for authenticity over artificial perfection, and just as I had, compared the proposal to the rebuilt Gansevoort Market row houses at 9th Avenue and 14th Street. He said, quote, how bad they look. They just look new and don't have the feel of an older building. We vehemently oppose the rebuilding of those row house facades for the same reason we should have opposed rebuilding this one. Here, the commission was for once acting as if it heard our calls for authenticity and basic preservation principles, and our letter contradicted.
That's 3 minutes, Dave.
Just one more sentence. Jeffrey said in our last CLU meeting that if there is a need to significantly change this letter based on a majority opinion, that can be done. The hearing has been held, but we might salvage some credibility by doing that. We should say we support the proposed entrance work, but recommend denial of the facade reconstruction.
Thank you. We are now going to move on to the Housing, Health and Human Services. They have one letter this evening, a big one. Please pass the chocolates to the left.
Tonight we have in front of us City of Yes. The letter has grown to 48 pages, and then there are appendices of many more pages with that. I know it's a very complicated, complex letter. I've spoken to, I would say, probably 3/4 of board members, and maybe half the board members have given input into this letter to the various committees and language. And thank you for your emails, your revisions, Rachel, Kevin, Katie, everyone's put stuff in here. It's really been helpful. I was asked to give sort of a high level hit on this, that this is a housing proposal. However, the problem is it's being executed in a way that affects development throughout the city. So for example, in our district, in the Special Clinton zoning district, heights would be increased throughout the district, even without affordable housing. That brings the land use committee to question and the housing committee to question, why would you increase heights in the special zoning district without the affordable housing? And then if you have it, you increase it further. That means this is more development oriented. The landmarks transfers are part of this. It's to make work easier. However, landmarks transfers will happen without any affordable housing attached. They're embodied in this affordable housing proposal. We currently, as a board, have inclusionary for moderate middle income, not just low income. Those provisions are eliminated, and they were called bespoke provisions. And you see in the letter, we note that being moderate middle income is not bespoke. It's what many people in our city live in. in the special Hudson Yards district, the mid blocks between 9th and 10th Avenues, the height is 12 stories. And that was a major win for the all incredibly heights that we had up on 10th Avenue and on Hudson Yards. That would be increased to 19 stories. That's a major change in the name of affordable housing. Community boards will no longer be reviewing inclusionary housing plans. Our board has reviewed them for many years and gotten the developers to do more than they proposed. More units, increase the number of floors they're on, and get the apartment finishes the same. That review would be removed. And then integration, which is our big issue, economic and racial integration. We get these units throughout a building. This plan says 70% of the floors are for mixed income, 30% are for market rate. These are just high level things, but the letter here was voted on and reviewed by, led by housing, but run by Chelsea Land Use and Clinton Health Kitchen Land Use. Clinton Health Kitchen Land Use, that committee voted overwhelmingly after review of everything to vote deny unless the conditions are met. Housing had a vote, Delilah unless the conditions are met. Chelsea did not have a vote on this matter. So a good majority of board members have already participated in this. And we bring to your attention that the major rezonings in our district, Hudson Yards, West Chelsea, Western Rail Yards, Times Square, for example, which was adjacent to us, with major impact on our district. Our board voted no unless. There's a concern among some members of our board that will create an impression that is wrong, that we're not in favor of housing. And that is why in the introduction to the letter, we spent a lot of time laying out why this board is a housing advocate first, foremost, and always. And we have laid that out very clearly. So there are lots of folks who brought me questions or want things changed or modified. I would like to take all of those. And while I'm going to make some notes, I'm going to rely upon the video for those folks so we get these things cleaned up or moved around. So turn over to you, Jessica.
Thank you, Joe. And I know this was a tremendous amount of work. I want to thank all of the committees and you in particular for leading on this effort. I'll call people to the microphone again up here. If you can use this one, would be best, and would ask people, there have been a lot of input to date, a lot of friendly amendments already received. You can know that there's more to come from this and there's more to be, refined.
Yes, we have time to make these incorporated.
But as a whole, if anyone has substantive comments, I would ask that you come to the mic now.
Expected a line. Hi, everybody again. This is an excellent letter. I don't think it's excellent because it's lengthy. I think it's excellent because it reflects the intensity with which we take zoning applications in this town. And it's also quite personal to me, which is why I actually made some remarks. So thanks to Joe and the process that we've been through thus far. And it's taken years for the city and our elected officials to realize the severity of our housing crisis. And yet, as our letter points out, since 2015, MCB4 has had a framework for how to build housing through our only of its kind affordable housing plan. During my time as chair of this board, we took our affordable housing plan on a literal roadshow, meeting with every single one of our elected officials, the Department of City Planning, deputy mayors, and the mayor's housing czar. And today, many of them cite our work. It not only has informed policy, it has inspired people to think more comprehensively about housing. It has also given this board an unmatched level of respect as a community board and as a negotiator on projects big and small. And we were coming from it from a place of positivity, seeking engagement, and indeed a yes. And so that is why this letter really scares me. I fear that our deny unless position undoes all the phenomenal work we have done on housing because our long held standard is deny unless. It's how we've done it for years, and so it must be that way, and as it's always been. Much like the zoning that's been in effect for 60 plus years in this town, largely since 1961. If this very detailed letter were to change from deny unless to a yes with conditions, the rest would remain exactly as it is. Indeed, the majority of the letter is supportive of all that is proposed. It would also put us in a category of greater consideration by the Planning Commission and the administration, and as well as give our council members something to negotiate with. And that matters, given the board's historic role in shaping housing policy locally and around the city, which the introduction highlights. So why would we give that up? Right now, the pile of the letters on this topic of denials and denies with condition is a whole lot taller than those saying yes or yes with conditions. We have a far better shot of having this letter actually read and considered if we're seen as the board that actually wants to play ball rather than joining the long roster of those who don't keep gloves, bats, and balls at the ready like we've historically done. It's easy to say that our position is nuanced because it has to be. Our district is distinct, as are all neighborhoods, and I agree. But we've done really well with our seat at the table, and I'd hate to see us lose it when we could approach this from a direction of willingness and a desire to engage, as opposed to framing it through a level of rejection. I hope, and so with that, I make a motion to change the letter to yes with conditions from deny unless, and that is the only 3 words I propose changing in the letter.
Thank
So
you,
moved.
Jeffrey. We're gonna hear from others and then we'll do as we did in the last one. Roberta, and then
Sorry.
sorry, we are gonna be really tight on time. So everyone in line, please be prepared.
I am going to sort of gloss over some of the comments that I was going to say. I believe that Jeffrey really hammered home the point about the abdication of leadership that I am seeing in the deny unless within this letter and the potential to really tarnish the board's legacy as a leader in both Manhattan and throughout the city in helping advocate and pave the way for affordable housing both here and elsewhere. Furthermore, I did a quick analysis of the last 5 years worth of ULURPs, and I did not see a strong indication in that reasonable amount of time that we have had better results with deny unless than a yes with conditions. I am not convinced by the argument of 15-plus-year-old rezonings that deny unless is the only way forward. This is 2024 history. It's true, history did not start this year, but we have a very different administration. I can speak as a public servant that I appreciate the goodwill and the good faith engagement of the various conditions within this letter. And I anticipate that we will be much more effective if we are able to be constructive and come to the table with a yes and approach rather than a deny unless. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta.
Hi. Hello. I support Jeffrey's motion, and I will bring up 2 points that I think have not been discussed, although I agree with everything that Jeffrey said. First thing I want to mention is I did read the whole letter, and most, if not all, of these policy proposals that affect our district, we have supported in some version in the past. We have spoken in the letter in favor of looking parking mandates. We have spoken extensively about the value of commercial conversion and moving the commercial conversion date forward and doing other things to make commercial conversion easier. We have talked in the past letters about shared housing and why create more opportunities to build it. And we've talked not about you specifically, but about a program that came before UAP that allowed that UAP was a model on and allowed that same density bonus to maintain for affordable housing. We've talked about campus infill on the actual policy of the letter. We have a lot of feedback, and that is great. And I want our feedback to be listened to. But these are good housing policies. There were not the only people talking about them, but they are good housing policies that the board has supported before. And I think it would be a mistake to approach this with a deny unless when you read the letter, the majority of it is in favor of, and the board has historically been in favor of exactly these things to increase housing production. Other thing I'm going to note is that on other major land use decisions, and I think the Port Authority is the best example of this, we have led with a yes and that has given us a seat at the table and signaled to the people that we're working with that we want to be seriously part of the discussion and work with them. And Port Authority, I think, is a good example of the fact that we've had many letters for that where we said yes with conditions. That has not at all prevented us from providing a huge amount of community input and feedback and shaping the project to work for our community. So a yes with conditions is not it's not a yes, it's a yes with conditions, and it's worked for us before. And I want to remind everybody of that.
Thank you. Marty.
I'm Martin Ducat. I don't have a label, but now you know who I am. The letter needs to be edited to be shorter to make it readable, but I want to say that this letter should be required reading for all new board members. It is a wonderful piece of history about the zoning in our district, and I recommend it to you. And I recommend it to those of you who are longtime board members who have not spent the time that I spent today to read it. It is a valuable document. A few nitpicks. I disagree that campus infill is a good tool, and it's in there stated that the whole board agrees with that. I'd like to see that line removed. I think the document permits too great an increase in FAR in a number of places, although there is one place where it says that there's a limit to 200 feet, and I don't think that applies to all of it. And finally, I'm in favor of deny unless. I think it makes the letter, a good letter, even stronger, and I would like to see it become a deny unless letter.
I worry that city planning would toss a yes with conditions vote by us into their win column and move on. A no unless vote says not so fast and puts more pressure on them to negotiate with us. There are good things in City of Yes, but the bad things are so sweeping and potentially destructive, particularly to our district, that we need to make a strong statement. No makes a stronger statement and carries more clout than yes. It makes it harder for city planning to just walk away from our 48-page letter, which speaks of many and deep concerns. I watched the commission's public hearing. When residents of low-density districts stated their objections, the chair would turn it around and ask them just how much affordable housing their districts had produced in recent years. Some of them couldn't defend themselves. Their no votes were NIMBY votes. Ours would not be. We've produced affordable housing in spades. As the letter says, we're the neighborhood of yes, and we don't need to prove ourselves with a virtue signaling yes vote that might compromise our unique success. We've earned the right to vote no unless without being challenged for negativity or self-interest. It's a legitimate civic choice we can exercise in good faith to the best possible effect. City planning could in no way lump us with NIMBYs. Even if I wasn't convinced that a no unless vote would be more effective in getting us a place at the table with city planning, and I thought it was a judgment call, I'd certainly defer to Joe Restuccia. We're lucky to have such a qualified and trusted zoning expert. We ignore him at our own risk.
Hi, I'd also like to speak strongly in favor of the deny unless letter and against Jeffrey's motion, unfortunately. Several things. I think it's impossible to read this letter and think this board is against affordable housing. If you pay any attention to it, that's not what the letter is saying. Similarly, I think, as you heard from the public comments tonight, as I've heard at the committee meetings, people are not in favor of City of Yes as an entity proposal and as a way of getting to affordable housing. As David just said, there is no evidence connecting the two. And what they are looking for here is, again, as David said, is a headline that says Community Board 4 is in favor of City of Yes, which I strongly believe we are not. We are in favor of affordable housing. The letter tries to keep that balance, but by changing it to a yes with conditions, it is so far off from what we've traditionally done. It is going to be a huge headline that we are very affirmatively in favor of City of Yes. And I just don't think this board and this community is in favor of that.
Thank you. I just want to highlight something Kevin on Housing, Health and Human Services had said, and Rachel, that I think is significant and important, which was, one is that maybe this is just semantics. And Rachel had said, well, let's be strategic. And during the committee meeting, I had actually been thinking, what seems more strategic to do? And I actually wasn't sure. And I was in the middle during committee. And having that thought in my head, having Rachel say it out loud, I was like, okay, so I'm going to be voting with what most of the committee decided, which was deny unless. I agree with Marty about reading this. It is lengthy, but there are certain sections that I think are really critical, especially if you're on Housing, Health and Human Services to read. And I think reading it also helped inform my decision and made me feel firmer about my vote today. which is still the same. And I would just share the sections that I thought were most impactful to read was the shared housing recommendations and conditions, commercial conversions, recommendations and conditions, and UAP, universal affordability preferences. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to do a time check. It's 9:37. Go ahead, Katie.
Hi, Katie Savage. I may be newly appointed to the board, but I have been involved in many of the committees for the last 4 years. I think it's exactly because our committee has been so deeply involved in housing, specifically creating affordable housing, that our no unless will actually get the most feedback in showing that we truly care about creating affordable housing and that we want to improve upon this plan. And the fact that our borough president is already signaling his support without hearing from all of his boards is ridiculous. The fact that they're trying to push this through very quickly, this relates to almost 9 million people in a very large city. To try and push through a massive rezoning without having any time to negotiate and really think it through is just going to create far more problems than benefits. Thank you.
Hi, a lot has been said, so I'm just going to make it very quick. There's design thinking going on when you have deny. Unless with conditions, that makes tremendous sense. When you say yes with conditions, it doesn't even make sense to me because you say yes with comments, not conditions. If you're putting conditions, then you're denying something. The second thing is that if you really do a little bit of design thinking here, so if you do a little bit of design thinking here, the moment they read deny unless and read the conditions, there's a better chance that the conditions will be looked at and the letter will be looked at fairly quickly because there is the pressure of denial otherwise. So I'm very much with what Joe has proposed, and I'm against Jeffrey's suggestion, though it sort of kind of makes sense because we're actually talking about the same thing on either side, but I would go with deny unless. Thank you.
Hey, all. I'm fascinated that we're having a conversation about yes and no, and no one is talking about any of the other conditions. And that to me is very impressive because this echoes that this board is a board that promotes housing. And when this City of Yes housing opportunity proposal first came forward, my reaction was the same. Yes, we're a board of housing. So of course we're going to vote yes. We are covered by 75% of our geographic area in special districts, and yet we are the 4th highest producer of new housing in the city and the highest producer in Manhattan. And we sat down with DCP to say, let's work out a way that we can protect our special districts while we're producing housing. And they said, no, we're not going to exclude and exempt special districts at all. And the argument is we are producing housing and we have special districts, but they're not willing to work with us. And I find that very challenging. If we replaced our housing plan with their housing plan, there would be less housing. Our plan, which was on a roadshow, which Jeffrey talks about as the former chair, is an amazing plan. But it protects the character of our neighborhoods. It protects the character of our historic districts. It promotes growth in areas that make sense to have growth. Keep in mind, we are the only board that took a position on how to manage higher density housing above 12 FAR before the state approved the legislation, and no other board has done that. So I have shifted from a yes to a no, because I think anybody who knows this board, when they see us say no, that will turn more heads than us saying yes. So thank you.
Thank you. I just want to, because of time, we're going to ask that people limit their comments to actual proposed language or friendly amendments at this point, and then we're going to take a call to vote. Do you have friendly amendments?
So I have some suggested changes, which I'm going to send to Joe and Maria. I do think that the conclusion should come right up to the front. Because it talks about, how supportive we are of the goals, that we're all about housing, and that we look forward to working with them. Frankly, if you read the conclusion, it sounds like yes with conditions. And I do support us having a seat at the table. I hate, frankly, being part of the 39 other community boards that say no. I want us to brag, as I've said to Joe and everybody else, I think we should brag more about how pro-housing we are, and that we have a great plan, and that we should be allowed, we should be given a number. And if we don't hit it, fine, we can accept some of their changes, but we should be allowed to do it smartly like we've done in the past. So I support yes with condition.
I support this idea. I wanted to say that we should have a condition that the districts which have an affordable housing plan, which has been successful, be given an exclusion from the general plan, and be judged on the result, and really say, okay, CB4, here is the plan. We are blessing your plan. Maybe we want A, B, C in addition to that. But if we do our job, there is no reason that somebody else should be doing telling us how to do the job. So my recommendation is we make an amendment to include that in our conditions.
Okay, we're gonna see, and then Betty, and then we'll come back. Betty.
Real quick, I in favor of deny unless. I think Christine's idea is very interesting. I'd have to think about that. Then let's just move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to note that our board has never had any fear about having a seat at the table. We have no fear about getting our words out there because our words are specific, detailed, and very clear. And we have voted historically on many large projects, no one less, and they have resulted in points of agreement that have built thousands of units of affordable housing. That's the result when you are clear. Yeah.
We're gonna now, so we have we have a motion, we have a second already. We're now gonna do a vote. The first was
The item from Katie's, yes, those are friendly.
Katie.
Katie, you're the second?
Yeah. Yes, you did.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're gonna take a vote. So the restate the motion is to, as I understood it, simply change the letter from deny with conditions to approve yes with conditions. Okay, everyone got that? Sorry, I've kind of been neglecting you folks over here. Okay, got it. All right, so we are going to take a vote. So all in favor of a motion to change the language from deny with conditions to yes with conditions, please raise your hand very high, like all the way, full extension, and keep it up. 1, 8, 13. Okay, put your hands down. All those in favor of deny unless. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All those present not eligible? Anyone abstaining? So we have, you want to repeat 13? 13 and.
The motion has 13 in favor, 25 opposed, 0 abstaining, and 0 P&E. The motion doesn't pass.
The letter as constituted will stay in your voting sheets, and what we're voting for going forward is the deny unless when we do the whole vote at the end.
All right, it is now 9:46 and we have 2 committees left. So please, Waterfront Parks and Environment, Marty, and then with Leslie and Transportation, get ready.
I know, I was just suggested to bundle, so I'm bundling. Any questions on any of these? One is for ratification. If anyone wants any more detail on any of them, I can provide. No? That's it? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Jeffrey, thank you. There were friendly amendments. Hold on. Go ahead, JD.
Through 43. She bundled 40 through 43. If there are any comments or questions on the letter, please come to this mic over here.
There are two friendly amendments from Jeffrey was asking to actually make the EDC letter, which is number 43, shore power, stronger and angrier, the quote was, which I, of course, said yes. And Paul asked for a line about environmental asks in the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice, which was a friendly amendment and is also yes. Good. Thank you, guys.
Welcome back, Christine.
DOT, transportation, any comments?
Ms. Bundling the letters 44 through 50. Please.
I have a quick comment and a question. So love the last sentence in letter 49. Whoever drafted that, please tell me who you are. For letters 47 and 48, you mentioned there were some various concerns raised by the residents. Could you just enlighten us what those concerns were and how they would be addressed by moving the bike station? Thank you, Christine, who's right next to me.
Yeah, the concern were people which are using the plaza itself, and because the city bike has been expanded to be in front of the plaza, there is a much more common occurrences of people riding through the plaza. So the people who are using the plaza said, you know, we're scared, and we are suggesting that they move it a little bit. That's not a big deal. And then we want to meet with the Worldwide Plaza people because what they have is really a driveway. And it would be very logical for people to think that they can go through. So we need to do something about the driveway. So that's what it is. But if you are suggesting we should put a little bit of those in the letter, it would be good. I got it. We need to put a little bit of that in the letter. Got it.
Yeah, I thought that was helpful, but if there's room for friendly amendment, I think a little bit of detail would be helpful. Thank you, Christine.
Microphone.
Sleep at the wheel the whole night. Letter 49, Christine, I already mentioned this to you. It's just a comment. I do believe this letter is very angry, and it may not be helpful to solve for traffic conditions along that corridor. Perhaps it's best to think about inviting further conversation with the community board that has worked to create better pedestrian experiences as well as traffic conditions, and invite the mayor to have that conversation instead of being more angry in the letter. But we talked about that.
But I'm okay. Add one or two sentences to invite him to come to the community board and present. I'm happy with that.
Viren, were you looking to say something? No. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Christine. And thank you to ACES, Cannabis, and Exec for not having any letters this evening. With that, we're going to move to a roll call vote. And Katie has joined us. As a reminder, we ask everyone to verbally announce their vote and submit their form in person and online. And Katie will repeat the names of those votes that she calls out.
Hello. Yeah. Hi. I know it's going to be complicated and we'll work through it, but we historically have always done roll calls for all land use applications, right? So we have the city of yes. So that's a separate, you'll say that you'll call that vote out separately. And then you have, Port Authority, thank you. And the Port Authority. So you're calling that out separately as well. Does that make sense to everybody? Also, there's a question at the beginning of the meeting for the items that Frank listed as postponed. You'll list them as going back to committee. That is what you'll put them down on your vote sheet. So there's not a postponed option. You'll put them down as going back to committee. Any other questions?
Can I do an example, Mr. District Manager?
I mean, the 21 and 30 are going back to committee. 14 and 15 are tabled. So if you look at your vote sheet, you have tabled as an option, and then you have going back to committee as an option.
So when my name is called on, I'm going to say my name, I'm going to respond and say I'm voting this way on others. And then on 35, I'm voting this way. On 37, I'm voting this way. And 38, I'm voting this way. Those three items need to have a specific vote because of their land use factor.
Classification,
Not 38,
Not
just two.
39.
5, 37, and 39.
Not 37.
No.
As a quick review, so 14 and 15 are tabled. You're not gonna, we're not dealing with that right now. 21 and 30 are back to committee. That's what you're gonna put on your sheets. I'm gonna call out a name. I want to hear you say whatever on the regular ones and then tell me specifically 35, 37, and 38. 39.
39.
Jeffrey's gotten me all screwed up.
39 are the land use action.
Okay, here we go. And we're just gonna start with Ted Arenas. All right, so you're saying yes to 35, to 39, and yes to all. And that's it. We just have two two letters. Okay. So to review, we have 35, 39 are yeses, and yes to the rest. There seems to be some debate behind me. Do we have to have a separate vote on 37?
No.
No. Okay. Roberta, yell it out.
Yes, on 35. Abstain on 37. No on 39. Yes.
Got it. So Roberta is yes on 35, no on 39, abstain on 37, yes to the rest. Christine Berthet.
Yes to all, yes on 35 and yes on 39.
Got it. Christine is yes on all the letters as well as on 35 and 39. Gwen, I believe, is not here. Is okay. It looks like it. Gwen, are you on up there? Okay. Leslie, Bogosian Murphy.
Yes, 35, yes, 39, yes.
Leslie is yes to 35, yes to 39, and yes to the rest. Viren. Okay, Viren is yes to 35, yes to 39, and yes to the rest. Liam.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
Liam, I can't hear you.
Hello, you got me?
I still can't hear you.
Hello, hello. Hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Sorry. I'm gonna be yes on 35. No on 37, no on 39, and yes on all the rest.
All right. Liam, what I heard was that you're yes on 35, no on 37, no on 39, yes to the rest. Next up, Kevin. Are you up there or? Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. So what I hear from Kevin is that he's yes on 35, yes on 39, and yes to the rest. Lisa David, I believe, is not here. Is that correct? Not here. Marty, the cut is somewhere near me. There he is. All right. So what I heard you say, Marty, is yes on 35, yes on 39, no on 46, no on 49, yes to the rest. Paul Devlin.
Yes to 35, yes to 39, yes to the rest.
Okay. Yes to 35, yes to 39, yes to the rest. Pete Diaz was yes to 35, yes to 39, yes to the rest. Wendy Gonzalez. Yes to 35, yes to 39, yes to the rest. Max Goodstein is here. So Max, I heard you say yes to 35, no to 37 and 39. I didn't hear what you said after that. Peony on. Peony on 40, 41, and 42, is that correct? And then yes to the rest? And yes to the rest. Got it. Okay. Matt Green, here? Not here. Jesse Greenwald, also not here, correct? Okay, hold on. Candace. All right, I heard yes to 35, yes to 39, yes to the rest. David Haluka.
Yes to 35.
All right, so tell me if I just heard this correctly. So yes to 35, yes to 39, no to 38, yes to the rest? Thank you. Frank? Yes to 35, yes to 39, yes to the rest. Josephine? I think not here. Okay, Inga? Oh, she's up there. Inga, I can't hear you.
Yes, I had an emergency and had to leave at 8:25. So I have yes to 35, yes to 39, no to 38, and yes to the rest.
Yes to 35, yes to 39, no to 38, yes to the rest.
Katie, can you hold on 1 second? Inga, can you make sure that you please fill out the remote participation form? If you
Will
if you
do.
want. Thank you.
I will do. I'm on the train. I ran, so.
Okay. Carrie?
Yes to 35, yes to 39, yes to the rest, Katie.
Carrie is yes to 35, yes to 39, and yes to the rest. Ella, Kim, are you here? All right, I heard you say yes to 35, yes to 39, and yes to the rest. Raul? I'm sorry. So I heard you say yes to 35, yes to 39, abstaining on 47. And what was the other one? Oh, you're abstaining on 37 and 38. And yes to the rest. Got it. Bert. Where is Bert? Is Bert here?
Yes.
Oh, hey. Okay, Bert, I think I just heard you say yes to 35, yes to 39, and yes to the rest. Is that correct? Awesome. Okay, Chris LeBron, I believe is not here. Rachel. Rachel is yes to 35, yes to 39, and yes to the rest. Jeffrey.
Complicated.
Oh, Lord.
I am yes on 35. No on 39. Present, not eligible on 1, 12, 31, 37, 42.
And yes to the rest?
Yes to the rest.
Okay, so what I heard Jeffrey say is that he's yes on 35, no on 39, P&E on 1, 12, 31, 37, and 42, and yes to the rest. Yep. James McDonald. Not here? Not here. Betty.
Yes to 35, yes to 39, and yes to all the rest.
Yes to 35, yes to 39, yes to the rest. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. Sanford. Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm yes to 35, abstain on 37, no on 39, and also no on 40, and yes to everything else.
All right. So Sanford, you're yes on 35, abstaining on 37, and P&E on 39 and 40? No, scoop it up.
39.
Oh, sorry. You're no on 39 and 40. Wrong column. Okay. And abstaining on 37.
Yes.
Marvelous. Okay. Shanice, are you? Oh, yeah, there you are. Great. Yes to 35, yes to 39, and yes to the rest. Yeah. Okay. Gregory Morris. Oh, okay, hold on. So Gregory, am I right that you just said yes to 35, yes to 39, no to 37, and yes to the rest? Okay, got it. Thank you. Tina Nelson? Oh, yeah, sorry. Hello. Okay, am I correct that you just said yes to 35, yes to 39, and yes to the rest? Awesome. Okay, Mike Noble.
Yes to 35, yes to 39.
I can't hear you, Mike. Oh, now we can.
Yes to 35 and 39, P&E on 37, and yes to the rest.
All right, so I heard you say yes to 35 and 39, P&E on 37, and yes to the rest. Okay,
Correct.
good. JD, where'd you go? Oh, you're right here. Hello. And yes to the rest? Okay, so what I heard JD say, tell me if I'm right. Yes to 35, yes to 39, no to 38, 44, and 46. Yes to the rest. Okay, perfect. Maria. All right, I think I heard you say yes to 35 and 39 and yes to the rest. Yay, okay. Alan. Okay, yes to 35, yes to 39, no on 37, yes to the rest. Okay, Brad.
Yes on 35, yes on 39, no on 46, yes to the rest.
Yes on 35, yes on 39, no on 46, yes to the rest. Joe. Yes on 35, yes on 39, yes to the rest. Hold on, oops, a daisy. Dolores. Hi. Yes on 35?
Yes on 39.
Yeah.
No, on 38. No, on 56. And now on 29.
And yes to the rest. Okay, so I heard Dolores say yes on 35, yes on 39, no on letters 36. I'm sorry, no. 38, 46, and 49. Is that right, or 47? 49. Okay, thank you. All right, Katie Savage, where'd you go? Oh, there you are.
Yes on 35, yes on 39.
Okay, yes on 35, yes on 39, yes to the rest. Me, yes on 35, yes on 39, yes to the rest. Hector.
P&E on 37. Yes to 35. No to 39.
I'm sorry, what was 39?
39.
No, okay.
38 is no, 39 is no, 40 is no, and 46 is no. Everything else is yes.
All right, let me just make sure. Okay, so yes on 35. P&E on 37, no on 36, 38, 39, and 40. No.
38, no on 38, 39, 40.
So, okay, so sorry. So Hector is yes on 35, P&E on 37, and no on 38, 39, and 40. Okay. David Warren?
Hi. Okay.
Oh, sorry, you're up there. Okay, hey.
I'm like the lady in the sky. Yeah. Okay. Yes on 35. Yes on 39. No on 38. Item 40, I abstain, and yay to all.
Okay, so tell me if I'm right. You said yes on 35 and 39, no on 38, abstaining on 40, and yes to the rest.
Correct. Thank you.
Lovely. Rodney, there you are. All right, Rodney, am I right that you just said yes on 35, yes on 39, and yes to the rest? Awesome. Alice is not here. So then I just have to go back and get Jessica. Jessica said yes to 35, yes to 39, and yes to the rest. And Mike, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I made a mistake, Katie. I wanted to say no on 46 as well.
Wait, let me go back. I'm sorry, you wanted to say no on what number?
46.
46. So am I correct that then your vote is yes on 35, yes on 39, no on 46, and P and E on 37?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
You did say, I did say no on 46.
Thank you all. Can I get, before we get a motion to adjourn, I'm just gonna ask everyone, take the chair that they are sitting on and place it over there and do everything you can to help ready this space for clearing out. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Dolores. Second, Leslie. Thank you all. Have a great August. BLP, we'll see you. And thanks everyone for sticking it out tonight.